pretty wild. We got a lot of fans, so could be AI-generated MMO OnlyFans. That's not an idea. That's just a warning. It could exist. I just don't know about it. Hello, John G. Do. John G. Do is not yet back with his water, but that's okay. We are not on Nostra, unfortunately. I like that YouTube. Every time I go live, I use the Rumble Studio to go live on all the platforms. And YouTube is saying, hey, your show's live on YouTube. I know YouTube. I'm the one that did it. I suppose it would be alarming if I didn't do it and I saw the show was live on YouTube. Then I would suspect I've been hacked.
Yeah. Hush up.
That's no way to talk to your infant daughter.
With your sighing.
I forget you have a monopoly on sighing on this show.
Yeah, well, I had a business call.
Yeah? Was it one flush or two flush?
I haven't done that yet, so we'll probably have to take another break.
Oh, jeez.
But let's get it on.
Get it on.
No.
Get it on.
It must be quite apparent by this time to any thinking individual that the people of our country and people of other countries all over the world are coming to face a moment of grave decision. A time when we will choose the course of our future.
Oklahoma, Texas, New York, Philadelphia, around the world, it's gonna be a big nut bust.
The Millennial Media Offensive podcast is now live.
That's right. Today's January 27th, 2026. You're listening to MMO number 204, and from the great city and state of St. Louis, Missouri, I'm Dan Gehring.
And from America's south coast, where I'm tired of this war with Greenland already. It's cold. I'm John G. Do.
Yeah, they sent down their cold air last week, that's for sure.
Yeah, I stole that, but it was the best I could come up with.
Well, every now and then you got to borrow. You got to borrow ideas from people. Otherwise,
it's borrowing. It's borrowing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I just gave it back.
We should borrow Greenland from Denmark. There's a novel idea.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
We'll give it back when Russia and China don't exist anymore.
Well, it could be sooner rather than later. You never know. There.
Well, maybe.
Only hearing bad things of them. So you got some. You get some of the weather this week?
It's cold, but that's it. It rained a lot the day before yesterday, and then after the rain, it got to about, I don't know, anywhere between 18 and 20 degrees. But the rain had dried up to a point where the roads weren't bad. So really, as long as you're bundled up, you're good down where I'm at. But the rest of the country is paralyzed right now.
Well, yeah, I got a coworker in North Carolina that said everyone's kind of iced in and not able to move until everything melts. We got hit pretty good here in St. Louis, which effectively closes the city too, because we don't usually get snow. The city doesn't have enough snow plows to plow the roads, honestly. So we probably got around, with the wind blowing, it was really light powder. I think my driveway had about 12 inches on it. Some areas had
That's
like
not
15
bad.
accumulation. No, I was able to clear the driveway off in like 2 hours ish. It took me. I got a long for living in a residential area. I have a long driveway. You could probably park about 6 cars on it. That's how, just to give you an estimation of how long the driveway is. And yeah, it was.
Have you ever had that many guests?
Yeah. If I don't park in the garage, then the 6 spots can get filled up pretty quickly. And we have enough champagne flutes to accommodate that many guests. Evidently, when we had our wedding, it was imperative that we registered for 16 of them. So, if there are ever 14 people at my house and we all want to drink champagne, we're in good shape.
At the same time.
Yes,
a toast.
That's right.
To Dan's driveway.
Well, it was heartening, though, because I got a lot of older neighbors, and while I'm shoveling off my driveway, I was seeing other people that had achieved their goal, helping out the elderly neighbors as well, shovel off their driveway. I floated the idea to a neighbor that we buy like a collective snowblower, and I think it's actually going to happen. Everyone was like, yeah, that's an awesome idea. My only reason for the collective ownership is I don't want to store it.
Who's going to store it?
Probably my neighbor across the street. His name is also Dan. Good guy. But
is he the German?
The German.
Yeah, I thought you had maybe it was when you were growing up. You had the.
That was growing up.
Oh, okay.
Ralph is named after my German neighbor growing up.
That's right.
In this neighborhood, I have just one ethnic, if you will. She's from Italy. She's this. Everyone calls her Nonna Maria. She always brings us cookies and, says stuff like, my grandson go to the University of Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Yeah, it's really funny. Yeah,
There's
funny.
a Y there, Maria.
That's right. So that was the weather experience this past week. It's still cold. I think we got down to -2 at our coldest.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Feels like or actual temperature?
Actual temp.
Mm.
And that was like 2 a.m.
Did you go out just to feel it?
I felt colder.
Yeah.
During this time, my parents' house was -19 in Wisconsin. So I've definitely felt that. And, once you get into the negatives, it's where do you like breathe in through your nose and like any sort of liquid or stuff you have in your nose just instantly freezes. It's cold.
It's hard to tell a difference when you're past that point.
Right. It's just icy. And then if the wind blows, you can't be out there very long. But
yeah, the very first time I skied, I thought I was saving money and being smart and skipped out on the goggles. And after I completed the first run, I went into the lodge to remove the icicles from my eyebrows and my eyelashes, and then politely asked if I could still buy a pair of goggles. Because
that must have really completed the whole Dog the Bounty Hunter look you're going for. Because he's got like that.
You're the only one that really sees the greasy look of Dog the Bounty Hunter. No one else pulls that out, and I know what you're doing there. You're trying to agitate me before we get going here. But no, it did not complete or even contribute to the Dog the Bounty Hunter look.
Very good. The
First of all, I'm not as chunky as Dog the Bounty Hunter. Dog the Bounty Hunter looks inflamed. He looks like he's in pain all the time because you can just see these little pockets of. He's not fat, but he's not thin either. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Have you? His wife actually passed away, but he had a bigger wife. I'm a believer that if you have a bigger wife, you're going to be a bigger guy. Because she's constantly, taking out the King Hawaiian rolls and making, what I'm talking about? Those sandwiches where you cut open.
I do know what you're talking.
Then you ate way
totally
too many
cut.
of them. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then you end up eating like 6 of them, and you're like, oh shit, if that was properly prepared. But that's what bigger women do, is they slice King Hawaiian rolls in half and say, here's the sandwiches.
Yeah, but how do you account for all of the food that they eat?
Those are big packs. I mean, they're probably a square foot by a square foot. That's a lot of bread.
I think it's more like 18 by 12. And I think you've got like 24 in a pack.
Yeah. So you eat a lot of
Let's see, 24 in a pack. They're each 2 inches by 2 inches. So, I mean, there's no way that's right. They can't be 2 inches because that'd be 4 feet of Hawaiian roll.
The best ever. It's funny because my head is constantly going to carbs because I'm doing like keto and intermittent fasting since the new year pretty much. So I'm like constantly talking about carbs, how I want to eat them.
Yes, apparently you are.
Yeah. So as soon as you said Dog the Bounty Hunter is chunky, I thought King Hawaiian roll, and then the rest is history.
That's what he's got to be eating.
That's right. That's it. It's got to be the carbs, man. That's what I want to say.
Well, when you do reintroduce carbs, try to start with like potato starches and other things that aren't the lesser than American bread that all of the Europeans and the people who travel to Europe talk about how poisonous our bread is because I ate 7 pastas for supper and didn't feel a thing. But there is something to that. I just kind of get tired of hearing it all the time. But if you start with potato starches, you'll actually get a lot of really healthy carbs because your body does need carbs. Your body makes natural steroid out of carbohydrates. It creates the precursor chemicals for progesterone and testosterone, which are really important. And the more of those you're making, the less estrogen you're making. So you actually need carbohydrates, but you need carbohydrates in combination with sunshine. So I eat a lot of eggs because of the fatty makeup of the yolk in the summertime, but I don't eat as much in the wintertime. And just a couple of things there.
You eat eggs and then you tan your eggs. You go outside, do a handstand naked under the sun for 30 minutes.
Yeah, but I don't eat ostrich eggs.
There's an image for you. Dog the Bounty Hunter doing a handstand naked in the Mississippi sunlight. Artists get to work.
How much time do we have left?
A lot. We got a lot of news topics that have happened over the past week.
Yes, it's ice, and more ice of all kinds.
Yeah.
I do have some winter storm clips.
Okay, let's start there, and then we get right into ice because everyone wants to talk about ice. I've seen so many bad takes on what happened. But yeah, let's talk about the weather first.
Well, I'm interested to see what you think is a good take. Okay, winter storm, nationwide rundown, NBC.
Tonight, as the monster storm moves out, the deep freeze settles in. Frigid temperatures, blankets of ice, and feet of snow still gripping a huge portion of the country. At least 20 people have died so far, including elementary school teacher Rebecca Ruber. Police in Kansas say the 28-year-old froze to death.
Her smile, it was so vibrant. That's what I'm going to miss the most.
First responders are still working around the clock to keep up with collisions and spinouts. Even emergency vehicles are having trouble getting around. This semi slid off the road in Tennessee, shutting down the highway. And in the Midwest, where it's been single digits or lower since Friday, stranded cars litter the roads. The extraordinary storm created this in New York City, where even the rivers are freezing over, with record snowfall in several states, including here in Massachusetts.
It's crazy. Oh my God, I live in here for 90 years, but I never see something like this.
I've been out here for a few hours.
It's a long time to be shoveling snow.
My face feels frozen right now.
You should have titled this "People Surprised by Winter."
Remain under cold alerts, including many down south, where hundreds of thousands of households are still without power. George Solis is in Nashville, where temperatures are expected to plummet again tonight.
While some without power have evacuated, some families like the Claiborne have decided to camp out in their home to stay warm. We've set up our tent in our living room. We have a small indoor propane heater.
That's
that
just called living
will
in
go
it.
for 5 hours or so. We've covered all the windows, and you can see we've covered the doors between the draftier parts of the house and this one, and we're just keeping a few rooms warm at a time.
Mississippi resident Jane Hubbard also has no power. She heard a giant oak tree crash into her neighbor's house as the storm barreled through.
It sounded like some loud thunder.
Have you ever lived through anything like this?
Well, I lived through Katrina.
You're comparing this to Katrina?
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
It's
We
not-
have no power,
Katrina
no
bad.
water, nothing.
Tonight, the city of Dallas looks more like the Arctic tundra. In Boston, firefighter Lieutenant James Brooks says it's the worst he's seen in years.
Had a pretty good amount of calls and everything. A lot of different calls, water leaks, car accidents, medical calls. It's kind of chaotic.
Man, just 6 months ago, we were swimming in this river, and now it's frozen. Things were not this bad under Biden.
It's funny, and I'm sorry, I was away from the mic for a second. It's funny that I don't feel like I've seen too much coverage about how bad this storm actually is for places that aren't used to this kind of weather. For places that are used to this kind of weather, like up in your northeast area, probably not that big of a deal. Maybe a notable storm, but nothing like the impact that Nashville is seeing right now, or even Oxford, Mississippi. I have CBS did a full report on just Oxford, Mississippi. This is the Oxford report from CBS. The clip is titled.
Welcome back. Take a look at this footage. Mississippi's governor has now deployed the National Guard throughout the state to help with recovery efforts from this weekend's ice storm. You see the aftermath. Nearly 10% of the state is without power right now. In Oxford, the University of Mississippi is closed for the entire week, and students are taking shelter from the cold in the student union. CBS News reporter Katie Weiss joins us from Oxford, Mississippi now. Good morning, Katie. It's good to see you bundled up, but just how icy are things in northern Mississippi this morning?
Good morning, Errol. Yes, the temperatures are still well in the teens, and because they're so cold, that means all of this ice accumulation from the weekend ice storm has far from melted. Look at this bush. It still looks very much more like a chandelier than it does any kind of bush or tree. Very impressive. It's gorgeous, encased completely in ice, and most of Mississippi looks like this morning, still completely blanketed in ice. But while it's so pretty, it's also very dangerous because it's causing problems like this. Still, tree limbs and branches continue to fall from the weight of all of this ice, and it's causing problems like this down power lines across northern Mississippi. And because of all of this damage, it's going to take a long time to clean up, which also means a long time for power to be restored and get people some warm heat in their homes. So a lot of folks are really just trying to seek shelter at this time, trying to find warmth in the student union, things of that nature. Errol?
Man, ice is causing problems all over the country.
All over the country. Red state, blue state, doesn't matter. Ice.
Even on her bush. That's terrible.
I wish you had been able to keep a straight face saying that, because it would have been excellent.
Insane.
Well, I have another clip here. This is focusing on the university and the students.
Tell me more about that, because even as you walk around, the crunching of the ice beneath your feet, the sounds are giving me chills in and of itself. And you've been speaking with students really trying to stay warm somehow, even though the university there is closed. What are they telling you?
Yes, the university is going to be closed through Sunday, but still there's no power across Oxford and hardly power for over 100,000 residents still here in Mississippi. And so police are actually giving escorts to students at Ole Miss who
Wow.
need a ride over to the
Where
student
was that when
union
I was in
because it
college?
is so dangerous to walk around still on the campus. The campus is known for being so beautiful with all of its beautiful big oak trees. Well, all those oak trees are encased in ice and are really hazards for anybody walking by. Yesterday, we saw branches after branches falling all around students who were walking, trying to get to the student union. And so I actually spoke with a couple different students, some who had to find shelter in hospitals, others who came to the student union after spending the night huddling together to stay warm in their dormitory without any heat. Take a listen.
I've been staying with my friend Andrea in her room, and I was sleeping on her futon, but last night we slept in the same bed so we could stay warm.
They told everyone that at the hospital that if you want to get warm, the police will come and rescue you, because I do not have a car. So just getting here was quite the adventure.
And Errol, this death toll continues to rise. The cold is no joke. At this point, 21 people have died as a result of this winter storm nationwide. Errol?
Yeah, I was going to say that they've got a great disposition, but this stuff is so serious. Katie, we appreciate you and your crew bringing us this story. Stay warm out there. Thank you.
Stay warm out there. Wow.
Yeah. So I feel like this is a real opportunity to figure out what your algorithm feed is like, because everybody's probably seeing the story of the guy killed in Minneapolis, but certain people are probably only seeing that story, and I'm one of them. I have been absolutely inundated with reactions and stories and reports and profiles and memorials about this ICU nurse.
It worked. It's working on the normies hard.
Yeah, it really is.
You know how many times I've seen the Anne Frank quotes? They started killing people in the streets.
Yeah, Taylor actually made the comment that this may be the thing that gets her off Instagram because she's so sick and tired of seeing people post about this guy.
Yeah, you go on Instagram stories, like I use Instagram as a barometer to see, what people that I know and I know their political leanings are talking about. And it was just wall of text after wall of text about this ICU nurse and the shooting. And bad take after bad take, insincere take on the mainstream medias. I think we should play some clips probably for the sake of, doing this. So do you have any
you brought
overall
clips?
coverage of it?
I do have some overall coverage of it. In the Minnesota tab, I have, it's very high level. I kind of got burned out on all of this after it happened and didn't bring as much as I should have to the show. But you could also look at it as a positive that we're not continuing the inundation of this reporting, because it's pretty easy to give you the cut and dry of what most likely happened and what most likely will happen. So, that being said, I have a latest report from Reuters.
Tensions appear to be easing in Minnesota after President Donald Trump and Governor Tim Walz held a phone call on Monday. It was an unexpected shift following weeks of turmoil over a Trump-ordered deportation surge that has left 2 U.S. citizens dead in Minneapolis. Trump also spoke with Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, with both sides striking a notably softer tone after their bitter public exchanges. Trump and Frey confirmed separately on social media that they're working toward de-escalation. Another sign of a thaw was confirmation from a senior administration official that top U.S. Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bovino will be leaving Minnesota along with some of the agents deployed under Operation Metro Surge. Protesters gathered outside the hotel Bovino was reportedly staying at after news of his removal broke. Frey said some of the agents are expected to begin leaving as early as Tuesday. Trump's designated border czar Tom Homan is set to take command. The change comes amid growing public outrage after the fatal shooting of ICU nurse Alex Peretti, the second U.S. citizen killed by federal agents this month. Videos from both incidents contradict official accounts and have triggered a court battle between Minnesota authorities and federal officials.
So today, I end my candidacy.
And in a sign that political backing for the operation is beginning to fracture, a leading Republican candidate for governor, Chris Medell, has pulled out of the race, saying the crackdown has gone too far and left the race unwinnable for a Republican.
Accurate.
A recent Reuters Ipsos poll shows public support for Trump's immigration enforcement tactics appeared to be waning in the aftermath of the Peretti shooting. His approval rating also dropped to 38 from 41% earlier this month.
Yeah.
So that's a very broad clip, and it touches on a lot of things that people grabbed onto and kind of made their niche in this story. You have, of course, the people that can't see past the ICU nurse gunned down by ICE, and then in the people who are more inclined to look at the political factions and how do they use this one way or another. On the right, you had the debate of basically, you had the debate of whether or not Bovino, whatever his name is, being replaced by Tom Homan was a good thing or a bad thing, and if it was over or if we're back. And the left has just been completely energized, mostly by the media coverage, not by the event itself.
Yeah.
But they've never looked truly for an event. They're looking for the response to an event, which is why the lady being shot in her car was just a stepping stone to get us potentially here. This one could also be a stepping stone, but we don't know yet.
Right. And I was about to make a comment on that, where the last one wasn't it, because there was some question as to whether or not she was using her car as a weapon. This one shows, at this point, an unarmed guy getting shot by ICE multiple times, lots of different camera angles, lots of witnesses. It is the one that they wanted, the one that they were looking for and needing to push this agenda. And make no mistake about it, this was entirely the intended purpose. The put your bodies on the line, get out there and protest. They wanted this.
Yeah.
And by
Absolutely.
they, I mean the left that are trying to perform a color revolution in Minneapolis right now. This is absolutely what they wanted, and this is what they got. And you know,
well, they're not trying to perform a color revolution. They're actually trying to defend a stronghold of not only the Democrat Party, but also a lot of these pass-throughs for the charity contributions and for the activist organization.
Sure. Yeah, I could see that. But you know, the organization that is behind the left that's going on right now, the strategies and the tactics, they're all very well organized, well synced. And you know, this ultimately was one of the end goals to be, all right, now we're going to plead our case. And the Trump admin has blinked. They have blinked, and as far as I'm concerned, on this issue in this location, the left has won, more or less. The ICE officers, for the vast majority of people, even for people that are on the right but rather normie, on the traditional right, think they look like Nazis. That is the general overall gist, and you can't change their mind. That this is straight up Nazi Germany fascism playbook. And I'm just being real with you. That's what they think.
No, I know, and I'm in total agreement with you. The average man on the street has that opinion,
right?
Which, I don't mean to black pill too hard right away, but that tells me that if the American populace doesn't have the guts for operations like this to deport illegal immigrants, then it's over.
Yeah.
It's only going to get worse. And believe me, when the Democrats win again, because you're not keeping them out unless Trump really does go all the way before probably the midterms. If the Democrats get back into power nationally, they will be thirsting for blood.
Yep.
And it's going to be harrowing. I mean, I don't mean to be dramatic. It may even get to be where it becomes somewhat dangerous even for us to do this show. And I'm not saying we would stop. I mean, we got a lot to think about as far as our personal lives, but it's going to be that thorough, the payback, the revenge for this period. They're not going to be satisfied. They'll never be satisfied.
No, they have to, they have to Mahatma Gandhi us, an eye for an eye us, make the whole world blind, apparently. So, a lot of people are saying, my brain is so jumbled because there's so much I want to say on it. But, one of the most disheartening things is watching people on the right instantly come and saying stuff like, you can't bring a gun to a protest and you can't do this. And then watching the left become pro-2A activists. It's like no one believes in anything anymore.
No, they don't.
And
no one has convictions.
Right. And as a guy that pretty much goes everywhere heavy because I live in a very dangerous city and because I like going everywhere heavy, I vehemently disagree. I think I can go to a protest with a gun, and that doesn't necessarily mean I should be killed. However, the environment that has been created by Minnesota leadership and the left, encouraged by Minnesota leadership and pushed by the Antifa types and left, is exactly what led to this scenario.
Right.
That high pressure instance is what led to this guy's death. Ultimately, it was all the people around screaming and shouting, and when you watch the video, what happens is they remove this guy's SIG P320. That's important. From the guy's holster in the middle of this kerfuffle. And from what I believe,
well, he didn't. He had it in his waistband.
Okay,
but sure.
So they grab it, and the guy is running away from the crowd. The ICE agent that grabs the gun is running away from the pile that are on the. And it's almost clear as day. You can see that that's the gun that did the first shot. The actual,
but it's important to say. You have, not only do they see and remove the weapon at that time with 7 officers around this guy?
Right.
You hear gun, 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 then the gun is removed, and then you're arguing that you think it was a negligent discharge by the officer who took the gun that started the shooting.
Well, so the SIG P320 is an interesting case. So it could very well, and is probably more likely that it is a negligent discharge in and of itself. But the SIG P320 is interesting, and anyone that's involved in gun tube or just kind of gun meme culture is aware of the SIG P320 being notorious for having negligent discharges, meaning
many lawsuits.
Many lawsuits have been filed. The gun fires even without the trigger being pulled. If you rock the slide on some of these, meaning the slide on the front part, and if you press down on the front part of the slide, it can actually shoot a bullet. It can release the firing pin and shoot a bullet, and it's a well-known issue. And I had posted on No Authority Social where this might actually work out well for SIG Sauer because, while this point comes out, the left is going to dismiss it as a right-wing conspiracy theory because, this idea that an accidental discharge led to this guy getting shot takes away from the Nazi Gestapo narrative they're trying to push. So then the SIG P320 and all of its claims get thrown out the window because half the country doesn't want to believe it. And so far, that prediction has proven out correct. I'm seeing that now as a constant meme of, it's a right-wing conspiracy theory. They just killed them in broad daylight. But the first bullet that does get fired is from that P320, I believe. and that's what sparks it. And all the chaos, it kind of makes sense that someone shouting gun, a gun goes off, and now the officers think that the guy has a gun, he's fired a shot, and they just ventilate him.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Big time.
10 shots all over the news.
Yeah, but the problem is no one is giving an unbiased opinion. The mainstream opinion is he was either just minding his own business and was assassinated, or he shouldn't have brought a gun to a protest. Donald J. Trump, I mean, I will play the administration's immediate response to this, but Donald Trump himself is
Does this not track with my ongoing theory that this administration doesn't have what it takes?
Yeah, it tracks hard, which is upsetting because, domestically, this admin is sucking hard when it comes to just over general voter appeal. But internationally, I think the tactics that we're pulling and preparing are good, and that's what's so upsetting.
That if we look back on it, and we're looking back on another, the last storm in the eye of this storm, but the opposition to Trump has always known that the domestic angle is his weak point.
Right. Yeah. It's true.
It's been exploited since the beginning.
Well, they fall for these common traps. They constantly get trapped in this. And, 7 months ago, back in June, we played the clip 1 or 2 shows ago where we called it. This is what the left is angling for. They want somebody to die. They need a martyr. And that's going to be their thing. And now this Pretty guy is their martyr. I've seen the Pretty Good meme, it's just ironic that, Pretty Good is the thing. But this is the admin's immediate response after the shooting.
An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol agents with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun.
Concealed.
The agents attempted to disarm the individual, but he violently resisted. Fearing for his life and the lives and safety of fellow officers, a Border Patrol agent fired defensive shots.
This individual showed up to impede a law enforcement operation and assaulted our officers. They responded according to their training and took action to defend the officer's life and those of the public around him. And I don't know of any peaceful protester that shows up with a gun and ammunition rather than a sign.
Yes, so we have qualifications on what constitutes peaceful protest. Thank you, Kristi Noem. Will you go please kill another dog and leave us alone?
Well, the fact that Trump has removed Bovino but not Kristi Noem is also infuriating.
It's incredible.
I don't know what kind of special agreement that he and her have, but she's clearly incompetent and should not be in that position any longer.
Well, she's a bootlicker. You know that's what it is.
Well, she's from South Dakota. Her whole campaign was her when she was running for governor of South Dakota. It was her whole campaign was her riding a horse with a rifle. And now she's talking about, you can't show up places with a gun. What the hell are you talking about?
It's the same with Pam Bondi.
Yeah, Pam Bondi. 2 loaded magazines. I go everywhere with 2 loaded magazines. And they're 2 fully loaded magazines.
Yeah, Dan goes to Menards every Saturday looking to inflict maximum damage.
That's right. That's right.
On his wallet.
I love the term, though, fully loaded magazines. Because,
as if you half load them most of the time.
I bring 2 magazines, but they're both half loaded just because,
I don't want to be hard on the spring.
That's right. I don't want to do maximum damage. I do want to do damage.
Right. It's just all so stupid.
Yeah.
And it's stupid because the people are stupid. And I will say this probably until the day that they put me in the ground, but I don't think there's ever been a thought that I'm comfortable sharing on this podcast that is any closer to the truth. Our political system has done an incredible job of catapulting the most incompetent people to the highest positions. And that's not going away.
I really think Trump was focused exclusively on geopolitics, on power politics, international state versus international state, so much so that that's how he set up his team with those people in mind, and then he literally gave any sort of domestic position to people that kissed his ass the most, period.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Even if you are a man out of time, like I believe Donald Trump to be,
yep.
If you're surrounded by morons and bumblers, you have to do everything yourself, and you can't do it. It's not possible.
Yeah,
Where is J.D. Vance?
He's going to Minneapolis, and he was there. But talking about the little Mexican boy who no longer, before a couple of days ago, it was everyone say Liam Ramos. Say his name. Now no one even knows his name. Everyone's like, screw that 5-year-old. Preddy.
It is interesting to me that it's a middle-aged white guy, but at the end of the day, we've kind of we've insinuated that we really needed to be a black woman. That's the central casting martyr you want. But for it to be a aging white guy, I mean, him being a nurse is perfect. He had to be in healthcare. He couldn't be like a finance bro who was just, an ally.
Well,
that wouldn't really work.
He spent his entire career helping people. He was a healer. He was a nurturer, a carer.
Mm-hmm. Yes, of course. And I'm not discounting this guy's profession, but it definitely plays into the acceptability of him as a martyr for the left.
Right. If he was some, like a douchebag lawyer, you'd be less sympathetic to see him die.
Right. Right.
But he's.
Did you see the media outlets and the billboards using an altered image of him?
I mean, that's not a new tactic.
No, I know, but it's just pretty easy to see in a side-by-side comparison, and it was a dead giveaway. When I saw the photoshopped image of him to make him more attractive than the actual nurse's ID photo, I said, well, this is a wrap. This is our guy, and unless something dramatic happens to quash this momentum, here we go.
Yeah. And, everyone is talking about how he must have been an experienced gun owner because he had a custom P320.
Yeah, okay.
So, I mean, the thing about it is if you're like this super experienced guy, about the current going-ons with P320s, right? They're incredibly unsafe. But he's like, oh, they customized it. He and the Trump admin used it too. He had an optic on it, and it was a killing machine. It wasn't really for self-defense. It's more of an offensive gun. People just talking out of their ass about guns.
Yeah. It'll blow your lung right out.
Yeah, well, he knew what he was doing because it was really expensive. And it was like, yeah, it's a really expensive gun, but it also wasn't a custom build. It was a 320 custom, but you can buy that as a complete package. And the reason I know that is the SIG sight that's on it is notoriously expensive, and it's also trash, that SIG sight.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about how garbage that sight is. And this is just like inside baseball that I know because of GunTube, but it becomes infinitely more annoying when you see all these people talking about it and you realize that they have no idea. And usually the stuff they're talking about, they probably have no idea. You know what I mean? They're just talking out of their ass. So the whole situation's a mess. The left won. And with the administration the way it is, the only thing that I can think is that, a separate movement of people, a separate conglomerate of people counter to this Antifa group has to be formed. And I'm not talking about your traditional right-wing, the Jews run everything, let's all meet together in this forest and shoot our guns on a Saturday type group. I'm talking about an organized group of people that actually like America. people that are patriots and want to be able to defend themselves. Because here's what happens: is the left will never acknowledge that this organized group of people exists. The Republicans, after Trump is gone, will never do anything about these people. So the only way to
No, the Republicans are so ready for this to be over. They will, most of them will happily accept a padded room in a luxury security max prison just to get all of this over. If the Democrats get into power and tell Lindsey Graham, okay, Lindsey, you had a good run. You thought you could do it. You kissed the orange man's cheeks a couple of times too many. We're going to have to put you away for a few years. He would say, no problem. Get me out of here.
Yeah. So no one is coming to save us is the whole package of my message. And so it's time for us, rational people that like America and know a thing or two about guns, because guns are involved in this, right? It's not all guns, but there needs to be a counterforce to this, because if there is not, we are going to be overrun. The whole country is going to look like Minneapolis soon if something doesn't change. So
I don't know if I'd say the whole country.
Well, there's going to be
Minneapolis.
Pockets. Minneapolis is incredibly liberal. I get that.
Yes.
But when I'm starting to see normal people, even conservative people, coming out and saying this is wrong, I know a ton of people that regret voting for this and they want to change, and the liberal message right now is the correct message that it should be. And the mainstream liberal is, it's okay if you voted for this. You can always change your mind. And that's always been my angle. And my angle has always been, don't mock and chide these people, but when they see the light, welcome them with open arms. And that's what the left is doing right now to the people that looked at that video in Minnesota and said that was wrong. They're welcoming them with open arms. And so the people that see, this organized group, the tension and the stuff that led to this guy being killed, we're the remainers. We're all that's left. We're the group. The wishy-washy conservative right are now going to join in against this, and they're literally going to vote for moderate Democrats in 2024. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be filled with these so-called moderate Democrats that, I support the Second Amendment, I support this, and then they get elected. And then the ATF is showing up at your door.
So one thing I want to say that I think is an uncomfortable truth for anyone who has ever been partial to the idea of democracy, even if you were before you realized that democracy is kind of a lie, or even a Republican system.
Yep.
You really have to have a very particular citizenry to have a working republic. And in the absence of that citizenry, you really have to revert back to historical methods of governing. And what we've forgotten, because not many people read about times before the modern era, because we really don't have a frame through which to understand them unless you really try to rid yourself of the assumptions that we walk through the day to day with. But one thing that's been forgotten is that in order to keep lawfulness and order in a society, especially societies that have inborn tension in them, the way I think any modern society probably does, you have to have basically an aristocracy that sees society on the whole and rules that society. And there's a reason that pre-modern aristocracies and ruling classes are generally seen as severe. Because you have to be severe to rule over people in societies like this. And we're seeing this exact failure of modern governance right now in Minneapolis.
Well,
And I don't think the modern American has the guts to see what would have to happen to get your country back. People say that all the time. They say, "Oh, got to get our country back." You don't know what that entails. You don't know what that looks like. And you would run crying to your local Democrat representative if you did see it. And that's exactly what's happening right now. And we haven't even seen a tenth of what it probably would have to look like to, quote unquote, get your country back.
What we're seeing, and I want to be clear. I hate that because I keep hearing that in all of the media clips. But what we're seeing in Minneapolis is democracy, and I mean that.
Are you talking about you? You always hear what we're seeing.
No. I want to be clear. That phrase.
That. Okay.
Let me be clear. What we're seeing in Minneapolis is democracy, and I mean that in the traditional sense of mob rule. So I think that is one of the important distinctions and why I'm so vehemently opposed to describing the United States as a democracy. Why I've highlighted in the past that it's actually was just a propaganda term and how that term is now. So what we're seeing in Minneapolis is people being pulled out of cars that they're identified as ICE. People that just rent a car and are driving around Minneapolis are now getting tailed and pulled over because the license plate is in a database. They're being demanded by just citizens to show their identification, show your ID, and prove that you're not ICE, pretty much. You know, step out of your car, open up your trunk, let me show it, take off that American flag shirt, yada, yada. That is democracy. That's the mob rule. And that is not good because that...
It's democracy from both sides.
Explain.
It's the mob rule of institutionalized force through ICE.
Yep.
And it's the mob rule of the unelected masses through the left. The kind of citizenry you would need to have a republic where these things don't happen isn't any kind of, I don't think, is any kind of ethnic makeup, but it's a set of citizens that have an overarching ethic. They have an ethos that motivates them to act a certain way and behave within a certain framework that is predictable and generally honorable.
Well, there is no ethos anymore. There is no common.
No, there's
ethos.
no the common ethos basically is convenience.
Yeah.
If this can be more convenient for me to believe or to live with, I'm there. And call me an American, slap an American flag on my forehead. If it's convenient, praise Uncle Sam.
And we're seeing that on both sides. I do agree with that. This the convenient now, convenient later. Just the you know, if you go to PSA, PalmettoStateArmory.com, and type in Glock, all their Glocks feature, 47 Trump on them. And, just hearing what he's saying, it's like he's not a 2A guy. He's not the 2A president that we have been hoodwinked to believe he is.
No, but, I mean, anyone who... Basically, you've got two Trump voters. You have the ones that bought hook, line, and sinker the image of Donald Trump. It's the merchandise Donald Trump.
Yep.
And they're the ones that are being dumbfounded by the idea that people in his administration are saying you can't come to a protest with a gun and things like that. And he's saying that. Then you have practical voters who said, yeah, guy's not perfect. I don't even like him, but he's going to get us closer to the goal.
Better than Kamala.
And when you're moving toward the goal or away from hellscape that we were moving toward otherwise, you give that guy the ball. You just do. And that's what you're seeing in Trump voters right now. And most Trump voters, because we don't have a We don't have a high quality citizenry in this country. Most of them bought the merchandise Trump. They bought the thumbs up, big smile, Donald Trump. That's who they voted for. That's that.
They love the mean tweets.
Of course. I mean, yeah. We brought this up a few weeks ago that, the culture war is increasingly becoming a boomer phenomena. That's what it's all a game. It doesn't matter. If I were to go and tell some baby boomer people that I know that I actually support everything that's going on in Minneapolis and think that actually there's not enough being done, they would look at me aghast. Because it's a game to them. It can't be a nasty game, we can't be nasty, even though, if you remind me about how nasty the Democrats were and tried to be, I might shake my head and nod along for a minute, but I don't really think we have to be that nasty, do we? They don't get it, and they never will get it, most of them anyway.
Yeah.
They don't see the gravity of the situation because the conclusion of their lives is closer than the climax of ours is, speaking on a national political level.
Yeah, the polite society they grew up in no longer exists.
No, it's actually the exact opposite.
Yeah, it's an impolite society. It's I'm going to come into the church that you're in and scream and shout at you that you have to do
and then
more.
Have the charges dropped.
Right. You can't eat at Mexican restaurants. You can't do this because you believe in this.
It's they all nodded along and pretended to believe critical theory when it was in the spotlight, but the underlying principle of critical theory is that existence itself is a game of power politics.
Yeah.
And the ultimate power over others is force. And if you achieve that power, you have won the game of power politics. And you can use at will that power to maintain your status. That's critical theory in a nutshell, in a very quick and dirty way. And there's no better way to use critical theory than in a very quick and dirty way to say, why does someone have power over me? How can I get it? And how can I keep them from getting it over me again?
Right. It is legitimately communism. It is, and if you look at communism, it's the brotherhood of man. Everything's collectively owned and shared, and it's great. But in order to get there, you got to kill half the population. And then, in 50 years, when everything goes back to kind of this capitalist system, we have to have another revolution where we kill half the population. And, but then it's all peace and love. And that's kind of where half of our political spectrum is right now, is any means necessary to achieve our goal. The ends.
Well, make no mistake, there are people right now who will vote Democrat in the midterms and in 2028 presidential election who are buying the thumbs up smiley face Democrat Party. And they'll be in the exact same position that a lot of Trump voters are in right now when things start happening in red states with the Democrat federal government coming down the way that Trump is coming down in blue states.
Right.
They'll be aghast. They'll say, well, I didn't really vote for this, but if we go one step further down the spiral, it's going to get a lot more difficult and a lot more risky to say, I didn't vote for this, especially within the Democrat apparatus. So, I feel like we are in a deep, dark hole of not good news right now. So let's back up for a second. Talk about this shooting in particular. One point that I wanted to make was that even this struck me this way early on. the SIG narrative came out that it was the SIG misfired, negligent discharge. That's what triggered everyone to start firing. I saw that initially as an incredible cop out. Like, if that's what a commentator was falling back on to say, actually, no one's at fault here, to me, that was a huge cop out. I think it's a possibility that it happened, but there were some commentators in the heat of the moment, in the waning moments after this event, were leaning on this SIG issue way too hard. And I kind of discounted those commentators as they were leaning on this SIG issue, because it really doesn't matter what happened. It matters what happened because it happened, but what happened really doesn't matter. We are at a linchpin moment where the administration, by sending in Tom Homan, is either going to say, the courts have decided, the federal government enforces immigration, and if you impede our enforcement, we will arrest you, we will prosecute you. Do not get in our way. Full stop. And anyone who gets in our way is going to be arrested, and if they assault us, they'll be met with maximum force. That's the first side of the spectrum that could be happening with Tom Homan taking over. I'm doubtful of that. But legally, the Trump administration has the right to do so. Courts have ruled over and over and over again that immigration is a federal issue and the states have no standing in immigration. And the states cannot impede federal immigration actions. This is well established in federal courts. Whether you agree with it or not, I don't agree with it. I think immigration should be a state's issue outside of immigrating between states. Immigrating into certain states, that should be completely up to those states. Then you can have your enforcement mechanisms that can go in and account for those states. And if you had that, you wouldn't have these wild fluctuations in immigration policy. You would have certain doorway states and other wall states. And it'd be much easier to address this problem from a federal perspective if the problem didn't stem from the federal government in 4 or 8 year periods, and then the problem have to be solved in 4 year periods most of the time.
So Elise brought up, she saw like kind of a joking but also kind of interesting idea where the Trump administration would come out and say, okay, we're out of Minnesota. We're not going to do anything in Minnesota anymore. But if you're an illegal immigrant, you can go to Minnesota and be fine. But if you're caught outside of Minnesota, you will be deported. So you see a massive influx of immigrants into Minnesota, and it just becomes, what they want it to be, the left-wing utopia.
Well, do you know what you're describing? You're describing something that my beloved deceased state tried many, many years ago. What the correct action for Minnesota in this regard, if this is the society they want to have as a state, they should secede. If they don't want federal immigration enforcement and they want to be a sanctuary state, by the Constitution, which I know, tap the sign, don't make me tap the sign, the Constitution's dead, but the states originally had a right to secede for the very instances like this. Now, there's still a funny way that this, in La La Land that we're talking about right now, that this could be achieved. It's not by Minnesota seceding and then doing what they want as far as having the people that they want and doing all of the things that they want to do that the federal government doesn't agree with. The Congress can actually kick Minnesota out.
I think a swap Alberta for Minnesota would be compelling.
Swap the sodas. Swap the top. Swap. I'll work on it.
Swap the top.
So this is the mechanism by which Reconstruction was carried out in the United States. After the war, when Robert E. Lee surrendered and the South surrendered, the Southern states were kicked out of the Union. They were formally removed from the Union, kicked out of the Union, and then the territory was taken over by the federal government. That's why you have every Southern state that seceded in the War of Northern Aggression. You have a new constitution that was formed after the war. And in many of those constitutions, it's stated by the state themselves that secession is an illegal act in the state. The states that seceded in the 1800s, they're not the same states that existed before that. Those states were kicked out of the Union. And then the borders were kept the same, but these states, quote unquote states, were reformed to be essentially vassalages under the federal government. And you can see that now with their dependence on federal dollars. They're welfare states. You hear about these welfare states.
So Mississippi is not the Mississippi in the Bible, but the modern day state of Mississippi.
That's right. The secular state of Mississippi.
That's right. Perfect.
It's not an ethno state either, I'll tell you that. But yeah, the Congress could kick Minnesota out and the federal government could say, this is our land. So you amorphous idea, Minnesota, the existing government of Minnesota, what are you going to do about it? And it just so happens this land that we seize, we're going to rename it Minnesota.
That'd be something.
But that, I mean, this is not going to happen. It's too much. You know, we joke that nothing ever happens, but nothing ever happens primarily because the overarching goal that Democrats want and Republicans consent to is a very slow, gradual march away from individualism and toward collectivism and dependency.
The warm embrace of it.
The warm embrace of collectivism.
Yeah, that's always been the kind of the Republican Party MO is they crack the door open a little bit, but put their foot there, and then slowly scoot their foot back.
Mm-hmm.
And just more and more. It's always been my view of the progressive society, and for a little bit after 2016 came and 2020 came and it felt like the door opened a little bit more, and then 2024 came and it felt like the door was firmly in place. No more opening. And
well, don't forget. Go ahead.
I just it's hard to not it's hard to not feel like this was the last shot that we had, right? There's probably never going to be another Trump presidency or somebody like Trump that's willing to shake things up a lot. And, on the geographical side, I think a lot of things are going well. Very, very good geopolitically.
Yeah.
And now he's out of time, like you said earlier. And it's like upsetting because we're going to go back to the
subsidizing the world.
Yeah, the subsidizing the world, the forever war system is going to be maintained. Europe is literally just waiting out Donald Trump right now, while pretending to flirt with China.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. And actually, holding hands with India.
I gotta have a clip on that.
Well, I can't believe. Why don't you play that clip? That's an interesting segue. because we have made it full circle to what we like to talk about from a domestic point of view to the geopolitical situation. And Europe, like you said, they appear to be, out on the town and fancy free, but they're really in a tight spot. And Trump himself has them in a tight spot. No one else. It's just Trump. And I think Scott Bessent is doing good work. I love that Tom Luongo calls him Big Gay MacArthur.
yeah.
But I think he's doing good work. I don't think he is the persona that Trump is to get these deals done. I think he would be able to flesh out the details, but wouldn't be able to position the United States the way Trump does. He's a nuts and bolts guy. No pun intended.
Well, funny you should mention him. So I have two clips on this EU trade deal with India. It's this first deal, and then it's Scott Bessent slamming it, kind of, as the media clip describes it. He slams the EU deal over India. But here is the first deal rundown.
The EU just struck what its president called the mother of all deals with India. European exports there are set to double by 2032.
Why would you do that? Why would you ISO
European
that?
firms will save.
What? I didn't do that. That's
no.
how the,
I mean,
oh, I don't know.
I know. I'm saying, why would they do that?
Why would they just not say it?
I even heard her say that in last week's clips that I brought from Davos, and I didn't pull it out to make a point about it because she does say it in a very robotic and dingbat way. But to ISO it like that in your report, you're just asking for distraction.
Yeah. I don't know why she just didn't say it, but
The EU just struck what its president called the mother of all deals with India. European exports there are set to double by 2032. European firms will save $4.75 billion a year in duties on exports like wine and cars. The deal had been stalled for years. What changed was America's reliability. President Trump's threat to take over Greenland was a massive red flag for Europe. The US's own trade talks with India collapsed last year because of President Trump's trade threats, and Europe got serious about finding new trading partners. Earlier this month, the EU signed a deal scrapping most duties on $130 billion of annual trade with South American countries. So, could Europe break up financially with the US? European investors own $8 trillion in US stocks and bonds.
Short answer
if they
is
sold
no,
them, US government borrowing costs could spike and Wall Street stock prices would fall. Some investors have already started. Last week, the pension fund for Danish academics said it would dump all of its US government debt. That's only $100 million worth. US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said it was too little to make a difference, but it's telling he mentioned it
Scott
at all.
Bessent.
Somebody else would have to buy that debt, but there is a precedent. China has been slowly selling off its US debt holdings for years and reinvesting the money at home. And these trade deals show Europe is betting global trade can flourish with or without the United States.
Fat chance. Even people with inside are saying, yeah, there's no way this is going to work. But, to what you were saying about the big gay MacArthur, I think he sums it up pretty well of highlighting Europe's hypocrisy, specifically, how they're now cozying up to these countries while also making other moves against certain powerhouses, great powers in the country. So Scott Bessent highlights why the India deal is so hypocritical for Europe.
The U.S. has made much bigger sacrifices than the Europeans have. We have put 25% tariffs on India for buying Russian oil. Guess what happened last week? The Europeans signed a trade deal with India. The Russian oil goes into India, the refined products come out, and the Europeans buy the refined products. They are financing the war against themselves. So President Trump's leadership, we will eventually end this Ukraine-Russia war.
Financing the war against themselves. So they're going to literally buy Indian oil, which is Russian oil, repackaged, is what Scott Bessent's argument is.
Yeah, well, hasn't this been going on, and they've been trying to stop buying the repackaged Russian oil, or am I mistaken?
Well, so yes, that's correct. It's kind of a long, winding story, but last week at Davos, Trump gave a pretty huge warning to Europe, saying you need to get your shit together, because the safety and comfort that you have been enjoying is going away. And you need to focus on building up your military. He didn't say this directly, but it's in the subcontext of what he's saying. You need to focus on building up your militaries, and you need to focus on securing your energy future. So following this, following last week, Wednesday, at Davos, the EU has done a couple of things, one being this.
Nearly 4 years after Moscow's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, EU leaders have finalized a ban on natural gas imports from Russia.
It aims at ending dependency on Russian energy through achieving a resilient EU energy market and preserving the EU security of supply.
Russia supplied more than 40% of the EU's gas before 2022, a share that dropped to around 13% last year. But the total ban by late 2027 still saw opposition from Hungary and Slovakia, who remain reliant on Russian energy.
For Slovakia, this timeline raises serious questions regarding security of supply, economic impacts, and the availability of available alternatives.
European countries were working on that alternative Monday, with 10 northern nations, including Britain, France and Germany, pledging to boost offshore wind energy in the North Sea, as the continent continues to wean itself off Russia.
No more will we let you weaponize energy against us. We already produce a lot of offshore wind in the North Sea, as you all know, but we can produce much more.
Ministers had already pledged in 2023 to develop 300 gigawatts of clean energy capacity in the North Sea by mid-century. The Hamburg Declaration signed Monday envisages that 100 gigawatts of the target will be quickly delivered through large-scale joint wind projects.
More windmills.
The agreement contrasts sharply with Donald Trump's opposition to green energy. In Europe, its role is growing in importance as part of its strategic sovereignty, and comes after confidence in its US ally was rattled by Trump's threats to take Greenland.
So, the natural gas that it's going to ban from getting from Russia, the large swath of gas that they've already stopped receiving from Russia has been replaced by natural gas from the United States of America. So Trump says, you got to stop doing this. Even Merz this past week, is it Merz? Yeah, Merz, the Chancellor of Germany, right?
Yeah.
He comes out and says, destroying our nuclear power plants was an absolute terrible thing. It was the most boneheaded strategic blunder we could do. Trump comes out to Davos, and I think he caught wind, no pun intended, of this whole wind deal that Europe was putting together, and goes out and kind of criticizes them for these windmills that they're going to put in the North Sea to generate energy. So by the mid-century, we're talking about 25 years from now, they might be able to replace a fraction of the energy usage that they're currently using today, not to mention, all of this energy that this new investment in AI is going to require. So they're literally screwing themselves and going the other way because it's counter to what the Orange Man told them to do.
Well, they're preparing for his departure, like we've said. Right. And they think anything that he says, if we go the other way, then in 2 short years, three short years, we'll have someone else that's more friendly. And this is what they would advise us to do anyway. It has to be the opposite of what he would say.
Right. So I guess to this point, have you been hearing a lot about the changing world order this week?
Yes.
So, I have.
What did you mean when you said the new world order?
A new world order. Yeah, I've seen a lot of Davos clips and whatnot, but it's been popping up all over. And oddly, I've been reading 2 books, both by John Mearsheimer, who writes like he speaks. So he goes on those like long-winded, when we bring in the John Mearsheimer clips, kind of off topic. So I've been reading The Tragedy of Great Power Politics and How States Think, kind of simultaneously. I think I'm done with The Tragedy of Great Power Politics because he writes like a thesis paper kind of, and where he like hits you in the head with it, and he's like, all right, now let me prove it with 50 examples. And so it's like I understand the context of his argument. But How States Think is also kind of like states, rational actors in how they're thinking. And John Mearsheimer is no fan of Trump. He thinks that Trump is kind of, an egomaniac and doesn't always act rationally, but does commend him for his Western Hemisphere play, calling him very smart on the Western Hemisphere play, which is laid out in his book, The Tragedy of Great Power Politics, which the general plot of that book is that states will always choose war with one another if they think they can get the upper hand, because they can never be fully certain of the intentions of the other state. And when he talks about great power politics, he's talking about the great powers. So the United States, Canada, and Russia, the United States, Russia, and China. Canada and Europe would all be described as kind of middle powers. But the topic of the New World Order kept popping up, and I found this guy, Andre Jike, on YouTube, and he's got a very long 24-minute video, which I didn't clip all of, and I think I would encourage people to watch it, and I'll put it in the show notes. But he has a really good he does a really good job of succinctly describing how the current world order works, and kind of how it's failed and why people are talking about the New World Order. So I want to play this clip here, and it's this succinct explainer of how the world pretty much works today. The reserve currency, American dominant world that we see today.
The end of globalization.
Globalization has failed the West and the United States of America.
The world has changed much. And I believe the progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
Okay, so what does that mean? Well, here's a very simple way of looking at it. After World War II, the world came to an agreement about how to structure the new world order. China became the factory of the world. Japan became the lender by keeping rates at zero, keeping the system liquid. Europe became the buyer and consumer of the world. They traded productivity and military for stability and social welfare.
Ding.
And the United States became the country that enforced the whole thing with the petrodollar as the world's reserve currency, backed by the military-industrial complex. Now, that system is what Simon Dixon coined as the proof of weapons network, which means if countries want to trade, or if they want money to build their economies, they have to agree to the rules. The rules were, use dollars to buy energy and do not mess with U.S. interests. The petrodollar made sure that the world needed dollars to buy its energy. The military enforced it all, and financial institutions, along with the central banks, managed the flow of all this money. So if you play by the rules, you got access to investment markets and protection. And if you broke the rules, you got punished with things like sanctions or just outright war.
Current world order. I mean, have you ever heard a more succinct explainer of the world in like under 2 minutes?
No, I've never heard a more succinct explanation.
What have I been saying?
I don't even know. It's not succinct. I think you were...
I was saying succinct.
Okay. Well, now you are anyway.
Okay. Let the record show John G. Dew is skeptical of what I was saying before. So I thought that was good.
I think you were saying succinct.
I was not.
No, it's very good. It's very good.
Very good. So it kind of goes on, and there's another clip where he explains a little bit of how that system now has started to fall away, and it's got a pretty not a lengthy, but a pretty good sound snippet from Howard Lutnick, who is the current Secretary of Commerce in the United States. And this was him at Davos, but so he'll continue to explain it a little bit more. And I I really like this video, and I encourage everyone to go out and watch it because there are also people like Ray Dalio, and I've got a take from him at Davos as well. But he recently put out a book called "How to Deal with the Principles of Dealing with a Changing World Order," in which he pretty much implies the United States is cooked. Get ready to learn Chinese. So I like this guy's video because he kind of creates an alternate version of where he thinks it's going. It involves cryptocurrency, so buy Bitcoin. But I'll let him continue with this explainer, and then you can hear Howard Lutnick in there.
The downside, though, was that to keep this system going, it doesn't just take a war, it takes a forever war, which is bad for the world. Now, if you're poor as an American, it's especially bad because the system gave out all the jobs, supply chains left, factories left, and what it did was it concentrated wealth, it hollowed out the middle class, and it created a very fragile dependency on other nations for their stuff. Because America stopped making stuff. The only thing America made was money and technology. And for a long time, that's how the world worked. Technically, it still does, at least on paper, but it's coming to the end. Because fast forward to today, and some of these nations decided to team up and said, okay, we'll make our own system then.
He's talking about BRICS.
And they've become so powerful at this point that the Proof of Weapons Network cannot enforce the rules anymore without going to World War III, which no one wants. And at the most recent meeting at the World Economic Forum in Switzerland, which just happened, the people who sort of control these levers of power said that this game is over.
Globalization has failed the West and the United States of America. It's a failed policy. It is what the WEF has stood for, which is export, offshore, far shore, find the cheapest labor in the world, and the world is a better place for it. The fact is, it has left America behind. It has left the American workers behind.
So now Japan is being forced to repatriate its capital back, sell their US treasuries, just like all the other nations in this new world. This weakens the dollar because the dollar needs perpetual demand, and that demand is disappearing. Europe learned if you depend on other countries for your energy and you outsource your safety and your military, well, then you've got no power to enforce the rules. So what we're left with is what was talked about at this World Economic Forum. The question was, how do we divide power in this new world order?
So he goes on to explain in this video the different players in this network: bankers, the capital holders, sovereigns, and central banks. And it's a very fascinating video. I think he does an amazing job. At the end, he concludes that what we're seeing right now is all kind of a political smoke and mirrors, and that everything's pretty much already been negotiated, he believes. But I think this bodes well because it's like, how does Trump and what he's doing right now on an international stage play into this vision? And they point to sovereigns like Russia and China and saying that, Vladimir Putin isn't concerned about how Russian economies do, or, how Russian companies do on the stock exchange or versus international companies. He's concerned about controlling his food production. He's concerned about controlling their energy, having the energy that they need, and pretty much being a self-sufficient state with their own energy, their own food supply, and their own manufacturing base. And I think that is what Trump is trying to do with the United States, where he's trying to get out of all of these institutions and organizations around the globe. People have been saying that this whole Board of Peace is a replacement to the UN. And in part, it kind of is, where he's saying we're getting out of this old world order that everyone at Davos has just spent all week saying is ending and it's over, and Trump's saying fine. And he's trying to get out of all of these organizations and coalitions and agreements that are part of that old world order to focus on the new world order, and the new world order of America being a self-sufficient entity that controls the Western Hemisphere. And I think that's what Trump is trying to do, and I'm all for that. I just feel like he's running out of time.
Well, I'll remind you that we're only 1 year into the 4. And there will be unilateral things that he can do throughout the 4, even if he's a lame duck at home.
Right.
So he could very well have 3 more years of shaping international policy and the international framework without interference. So even though we may all be strung up by our toenails and skinned alive by rabid leftists, at least geopolitically we'll be in the right spot.
Yeah. It's really tough to say whether or not it's going to be successful, but I can see a vision moving forward. The Ray Dalios of the world are basically saying, we're in this late stage American world order, and we should be preparing for China to take over. And that message is grabbing hold because Ray Dalio is a billionaire, and he's oftentimes on news shows. And so the media this week has been pushing all of these deals that the EU is making with China and with India, and Canada is making with China and India. And the only reason that Mark Carney of Canada is flirting with China is to just stick it to Trump. Well,
Yeah.
you want to kick China and Russia out of this hemisphere? We're going to invite them right back in. And, I wish him best of luck on that strategy, but ultimately, just to spite one orange guy, that's a pretty shitty thing to do to the population that is Canada. So I don't know. I've been pretty much this entire past week shoveling snow, laying awake in bed at night, feeding the babies. I've just been milling this over, in my head. And it's so great to have a place to come and talk it out. But
yeah.
But I think that's the grand scheme. We got an interesting theory about controlling underwater cables being the main Greenland angle from Potty Mouth. I thought it was well thought out, an angle I hadn't considered. I don't know about whether it's accurate or not, but talking about something like $10 trillion of financial transactions happening through the Arctic cables per day, and that's what he wants to control, which is interesting. But I think that the securing the Western Hemisphere, securing our energy production, people talk about, the mainstream media was talking about, well, Venezuela is not going to pay off for years, decades maybe. And they're talking about it from a lens of, well, Trump's a politician and he's only got, 4 years. So that was a bad move on his behalf. And it's not if the guy cares about America and is trying to set us up for a long-term, solution. Maybe if he's, less concerned about making sure his party wins and more concerned that America wins, that America stays relevant on the stage, it's a pretty solid move. And it's been pretty successful. And I think Cuba is probably going to have a regime change because of it. And now Mexico is showing signs of capitulation.
Yeah, it's just the Great White North being a real problem, both domestically and locally.
Well, Canada is effectively Europe. They've outsourced, and I love the way that he put it in the video. They're realizing that if you outsource your pretty much your military and your production base, the guy describes Europe as a welfare state, pretty much, and the person that's paying that welfare was the United States, and that's going away. And Europe is freaking out. And so I think the grand strategy is Europe has to federalize. And I might have mentioned that last week, but now I'm almost certain that Europe has to federalize. It has to become the United States of Europe. Because otherwise they don't stand a chance. Unless they're just waiting out Trump.
Well, that's basically what they're already on the way to that with the EU trade bloc and NATO.
Decreasing also kind of, homogenizing business customs across individual states as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. They're pretty much there everywhere except on paper, officially. So I think we'll hear about a EU army in a couple of years, where all the states contribute to an EU army. They have to. There's no other option for them if they want to stand a fighting chance. Or, it's that or become a vassal of Russia, probably. So I think countries like Russia, a country like China, understand what Trump is doing. Meanwhile, the media wants to spin a narrative that this is just irrational and terrible, while the writing is on the board that the current world order is no longer functioning. Everyone is admitting that at Davos, but then also going out and saying Trump is completely irrational. He's ruining the world. He's just showing you reality. And he did it at the UN meeting a year ago when he talked about how it's time to get your everything in order.
Right.
Get your priorities in order. Get ready. And he did it in the Middle East when he said, we're backing out and it's on you guys to make decisions about the future of the Middle East. And he showed restraint with Iran. However, we've got that striker group in Iran. I don't see any reason that we need to strike Iran outside of Netanyahu whispering in Trump's ear. I know that
I would be totally surprised if we strike Iran at this point. We do have until the 11th of February is the anniversary of the day that the Shah fell.
It would be sweet. It would be a sweet, very symbolic Trump move if he did it, but I don't see the rationality for, if our goal is to secure the Western Hemisphere, to secure our energy future, our needs, and bring manufacturing back to the United States, I don't see that fitting into that vision.
Unless you're trying to create the counterbalancing blocks for the rest of the world, and a critical block in the grand scheme of the Eastern Hemisphere would be an Israeli Middle East.
Well, it's already at odds with what the Middle East wants, because we talked about Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Pakistan forming a trilateral.
Okay, maybe Israeli Middle East is stretching, but an ally, a powerful, unchallengeable regional power, and it would have to be a block of states,
right?
Just like Europe is a block of states.
I think right now the main concern for Saudi Arabia and Pakistan and Turkey, they're looking at Iran. They know Iran is a problem, but they also know that removing the Ayatollah, removing the IRGC from control in Iran is going to cause probably a decade, if not more, of a destabilized state, a rump state. Turkey last week, we talked about the Kurds being kind of abandoned. The U.S. has abandoned our oil allies in northern Syria and swapped them for the terrorist that is al-Julani, who is also kind of our puppet. So he's making gains and destabilizing Syria pretty hardcore. But Iran is going to just, no one knows what happens when you kill the Ayatollah. And I think that's what Trump is kind of considered. That's what Saudi Arabia, Qatar, they all got on the horn with him and said, don't bomb them. Even if you do produce regime change, no one knows what's going to come out of that. You can't take this guy from Washington, D.C. and put him in there and now he's running Iran. It's not going to work. So, I don't know. But I like the theory of creating a strong bloc in the Middle East that's Western aligned. Or America, and that's another thing we're going to have to stop saying if this vision plays out, is Western aligned.
Western aligned.
There's not going to be any more Western aligned. There's going to be the United States and Europe.
Yeah, and you have basically your hedges against China's expansion that you create and then leave as bulwarks. Which the Middle East would be a big one. Australia is a huge one. We got our hooks into the Philippines.
Yeah, pretty hard.
Japan with the new Japanese prime minister quickly assembling her government to enact the vision that she has. That is all in line with Trump's vision.
So I mean, in the clip I played from this guy, he talks about how Japan was the lender,
Yes.
Europe was a consumer. If Japan becomes the lender in this new system, and the new system, what the central bankers want to stay relevant is central bank digital currencies. And it's a real big fight between decentralized crypto and centralized crypto, because they know that crypto is the future, period. And so the central bankers want to stay relevant and keep control of the money supply. However, people are finding out that they can make more money on crypto, investing in various stable coins and dollars, earn more interest on their money than they can in banks whose interest rates are pretty much zero. So if central banks play fair, people would be choosing crypto all day, but they're not going to play fair. So
I don't think think Japan. Oh,
sorry, I'll put a marker down. I also knocked my contact out.
Check.
I got you.
Ready?
Yep.
I don't think Japan is going to be the lender in this new system. And I don't think they are, because they're experiencing inflation like we discussed last week. And I think they're going to have to raise rates to cool that inflation for domestic satisfaction. And that's something I haven't looked into as much as I could have since last week, but that's the way it strikes me. And, we've always heard this little, you hear somebody will say, well, a little birdie told me. We've always heard these little rumblings about Trump having this idea of inflating away the U.S. debt. If the U.S., if he really wants to get rates back to 1%, as he said, so that the U.S. debt can be refinanced before he's out of office at a low rate, that would put the U.S. in a position to be the lender in a new system. I haven't proven any of that out. That's just me thinking kind of off the cuff about it, and just some thoughts that have crossed my mind before, trying to think about how to best position myself if we become that economy, that lender. But I don't know. It's just a thought that I had because, if Japan does have to raise rates, that the yen carry trade is gone. That arbitrage is gone, and those assets that were being utilized for that are going to have to, they're going to have to go somewhere else. And I think, not to get too far in the weeds here, but you noticed that the price of silver got up to $103 and then dropped back off to below 100 yesterday.
Yeah. And then gold skyrocketed.
Uh-huh. I really think while there is so much in flux, central banks and investors are basically taking shelter in these precious metals until they see exactly how everything is going to play out.
I am with you on that.
Okay. You sound like you have some material.
Yeah, I do have a clip on gold prices. They sell it a little bit differently, that the reason gold prices skyrocketed was directly due to Davos and like Mark Carney's comments on the changing world order and how people are less likely to hold reserve currency and actually hold real currency. And I think I should first play this clip from, what's his name at Davos? Ray Dalio. Where is he? Yeah, here he goes.
Here I am in Davos. The
Here
reason
I am.
come to Davos
It's me, Ray
is
Dalio.
Because It's a gathering of world leaders, and if you know these people, you can want these one-on-ones, bilateral conversations. Very quickly, you can get a sense of how things are working. And coming into Davos, there was a real sense that you were at the brink. What I mean by that, a red line, particularly related to Greenland. What I mean by that is, if there were going to be big tariff initiations to take over Greenland, and there were going to be military, that was a red line. And that red line was going to not only have tariff responses, but it was going to have big capital responses. Capital wars have not been talked about. We see trade as a weapon. We haven't seen capital as a weapon. And the other side of trade deficits and trade balances are capital balances. And so the issue, the plans, actually, of emerging of what that would mean for ownership of U.S. assets was very much on the table. So when President Trump gave the speech and pretty much took those off the table, and also explained himself, I think in a particularly good way in terms of the various issues, that changed things. You could see that in the market action. You could see, for example, that before you saw the stock market, the bond market sell off, you saw the gold rally, and you saw more of the reverse reactions, of a little bit of taking that in. So these issues, the capital war issues, are very much an influence. By the way, when I say they're an influence, it's reflected in the changing complexion of countries' savings via countries' reserves. So you can see that gold is being used, increasingly being built up as reserves, and reserve currency positions are being decreased. So that's the update as I see it from Davos.
This is kind of what you were talking about. A lot of countries are buying gold and ridding themselves of like reserve currencies, which is the U.S. dollar.
Yes, it's basically a currency reset, and everyone is waiting to see where your money should go. And along the same timeline that we had some movement out of Japan and their bond market, where I think it was their 20-year yield shot up like 25 basis points, you had a dip in silver from 103 to about 96. So for those of you out there with temporary precious metal holdings, if you don't plan to keep that precious metal, then you may want to take advantage of what could be a top. I'm not saying it will be. This isn't something that I can guarantee, but it makes sense that you have this big money moving into precious metals as a safe haven while you bide your time and wait to see how things are going to shake out. You saw a jump in Japanese bond yields, and you see money move out of silver and somewhere else about the same time.
Right.
It seems logical to me. So if you were thinking at some point you would shed some of your precious metals, you may want to go ahead and start that process.
Yeah, precious metals assets, they work the same way as stocks and bonds. Investors are easily spooked. So run up the price,
and
run down the price.
The precious metals, you can find plenty of people telling you that your silver is going to go to $300 and your gold's going to go to $8,000. And this is the same for Bitcoin too. There's no inherent rate of return other than capital gain. So you're not generating a rate of return just by holding that asset. So your institutions and your nation states that have been reshoring and buying these precious metals, they're not going to stay in those precious metals.
No, they'll, yeah, I think you're saying they're just waiting for it to shake out.
Yeah, which makes me feel good about where we've been on seeing that this is a a critical moment and that things are actually shifting under our feet and that things will never be the same after this. Now, wouldn't it be just the most, I don't know if I want to say poetic justice. It'd be sad, really, if you are a fan of the direction that the geopolitics are going. But all I can think about, earlier in the show, we were talking about Donald Trump like he was dead or dying. And I hate to think it, but what would happen if during the middle of all of this shakeup, he were to be taken?
You know, it's weird that you bring that up because, you know, if you're talking about a grand like conspiracy or stuff, that would be almost like a reset where you've got this shadow administration, and not really shadow, it's Marco Rubio that's doing the international stuff. Little Marco. I love Little Marco now. He's my favorite. But, you know, he's an old kind of neocon in a sense, but he's gotten on board with the Western Hemisphere securing strategy. But if Trump went away, and I have that thought too of maybe that's the plan. Maybe within the next, let's see here, 10 months.
I really am not talking about a grand conspiracy, even though there's a possibility. There are always schemes afoot. I'm just talking about the fact that the guy's old.
Yes, but I mean, could you imagine? So we're talking about the lead up to 2024 election. Donald Trump is shot, and the Democrats realize that this is so bad that Joe Biden literally has to drop out of the race, and they put up Kamala Harris in a scrambled attempt to change the news cycle. What if the October surprise is Donald Trump goes down? He's, you know, swinging a club on the golf course, has a heart attack, or he's waving on the lawn at Easter and somebody shoots him. Feels like
It doesn't matter how, really. I mean, it probably does. There's probably different reactions to different ways. I think it would be a terrible, terrible thing for us domestically if he was assassinated. And it would be almost as much of a demotivating event if he were just taken naturally. Like, no questions asked, grips his chest, goes down on the ground, and then, you know, we get the news 3 hours later that he's passed.
What if he's in the Oval Office by himself, right? And while he's going down, he reaches for a button. And he hits the button. And the guy that finds him is the White House staffer that's bringing him a Diet Coke. Hollywood.
So you saying cinema?
Pretty much. It'd be beautiful. It would be beautiful. And they could use that as an ad, kind of, you know?
I think they're going to, yeah. I hope that doesn't happen in any way, shape, or form, but it is a real possibility. And, you know, the more prepared you are for any of these possibilities, the better off you can be. I think with this much in flux, the first and immediate thing that you have if Donald Trump dies one way or another is I think the markets just go haywire. They don't know how to act. They've been told that everything is in flux. You know, Patriots in control economically. Big gay MacArthur has everything under control. Trump is doing all of these things. We're going to give you some nudge, and some hint as to where to put the money. And now the head man is gone. I think your markets, maybe they fly into precious metals. And that comment I made earlier is one of the stupidest things you'll hear all year. You just can't ever know. But
I know what'll happen. If he dies of a heart attack, Kristi Noem will come out and say it was Iran that viciously attacked him, and we'll nuke him. Because Trump has long threatened that if Iran or somebody takes them out, they've got contingency plans in place to make sure that they get killed. Christy Nome comes out.
Well, you can okay. Well, this is a serious thought. If there's any question as to who the shooter was, or who planted the bomb, or who did any of these things,
it was Iran.
No. It may, officially it was Iran. That is a continuation of the old world order retaking the reins.
It was Canada.
Hey, Canada, catch. Put a marker down because I don't think we have anything else any better than that. But if Donald Trump is assassinated in some way, the narrative will be Iran. I think that's the easiest. I don't think you'd want to risk as much by saying it's Russia or China. I think the narrative is it's Iran. We have to go to war with Iran. And as you pointed out with your clip, the foundation of the existing or the old world order is forever war. And what better way to salvage the existing world order and kick off the next forever war than to blame Iran?
Does Iran have a good army? I feel like they don't.
I don't know, but they are geographically a natural stronghold with the mountain range to the south of Tehran. Basically, if you cross that mountain range, you are trapped in a killing field. No matter how big their army is, their munitions can really wreak havoc on any forces that cross that mountain range.
Yeah.
So really, the war would be up to that mountain range, and then counterinsurgencies in that mountain range, securing everything from that mountain range to the coast, and then you barrage Tehran until you just bomb them you rubbleize them.
That is interesting. I came across something that answers a query. I love when people say query. That came across a query you had. Evidently, part of northern Iraq is understood to be Kurdistan, Iraqi Kurdistan.
Oh, okay, so it's okay. I got you.
I just had that thought now, and I needed to get it out. Otherwise, I never would. Yeah, we were talking about
So that would be, that would be like if we were two Turkish guys doing a podcast and someone used the term Alabamistan, and one of us was like, "Well, there's no Alabamistan. They seceded, but they weren't able to become a country on their own. There's no Alabamistan. What is that?" And somebody was like, "Well, actually, it's a state in the United States called Alabama."
Yeah,
that's kind of
sort of. Yeah, it's not even officially called like Kurdistan. On any
well,
sort
how
of
can
map.
you have official names when you're in that state?
Yeah, it's a rump state, just like Israel drew it up. I knew very little about the first Gulf War between Iraq, like when Iraq invaded Kuwait and George W.
Oh, I
Bush.
thought you were talking about between Tiger Woods and his wife.
What?
First Gulf War.
Oh, sorry, a little slow on that one. Was there ice on our bush or something? No, but when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait and George Bush Sr. went over there to kind of beat back Saddam, and then George Bush came up with that shoddy excuse to invade Iraq in 2003, makes a lot more sense when you realize that, oh, he's just doing what Daddy couldn't. I want to prove to Dad that I can get Saddam. And that was George Bush's whole... there was more to Iraq than that, but the rumpification of Iraq was the intended goal, and that's what they achieved. With this fake, we're going to spread democracy there and stand up a government. Never worked.
Well, maybe it did work, just not for the people there.
Right. I was kind of blown away about how much I didn't know about that first Gulf War. And I think a lot of people, probably my age and younger, definitely don't know a lot about it. So I'd encourage people to look up the history of that first Gulf War under George Bush Sr. and how Maggie Thatcher is credited with the one for making it happen.
Old Maggie.
Old Maggie. All righty. I think we should probably thank some people. What do you think?
Well, before we do that, I have some clips that I neglected earlier because they're not on my show notes. They're just in the folder. And before we go into the second half of the show, and I have to pull these out, and then we have to do a hard turn away from them. We were talking about the world order and all this stuff and the structure of these systems. And I should have played these clips when we were talking about the threat that the next Democrat administration is and how there will be reprisals and how severe they will be. This would have been a good backup for that because it really shows how organized and serious these people are, at least the ones funding these systems. And it also brings up the question that we've been asking over and over and over again, which is, why aren't these people, the ones funding these activities, why aren't they being investigated? The answer, we may never know. But the Wall Street Journal put out an opinion video. It's an opinion package. It was really something else.
An opinion
I feel
package.
yeah, it's your standard 2 to 3 minute. I think it's like 5 minutes, but 2 to 5 minute long report package. But it's an opinion piece narrated by a guy whose opinion it is, with graphs and videos. And I'm sure he has some affiliation with the Wall Street Journal. But it's an interesting concept. I think we could probably put some of these together and send them in to other networks, whether it be podcast networks or anything else, and present them as, news opinion packages. I think we could do that.
That's a sizable package,
Yes. Well, especially if you consider both of ours.
Yeah. Yeah, happy average.
This is Terrorist Left, the folder Terrorist Left. And this is parts 1, 2, and 3 of the Wall Street Journal funding breakdown for leftist agitators.
The protests in Minneapolis capture an underappreciated fact about the Democratic Party. It is configured to react in unreasoning rage to everything President Trump does.
We cannot counter Donald Trump's chaos with our own brand of chaos.
The challenge of messaging, how to condemn roundups of illegal migrants without defending protesters' lawlessness, is only a symptom of the problem.
Go lick food somewhere else.
The problem arose from a Byzantine network of activist nonprofits created and fostered over the past decade by liberal foundations and progressive billionaires. It started more or less in 2010, during negotiations on a cap-and-trade bill that in part aimed to put a price on carbon emissions.
You've got an independent in Joe Lieberman, you've got a Republican in Lindsey Graham, and you've got a Democrat in John Kerry that are working through a proposal on comprehensive energy legislation.
2 months later, the bill was dead. Animated by fears of global catastrophe, wealthy foundations and donor-class ideologues decided they couldn't achieve their goals by democratic persuasion and had to create an army of nonprofit groups to wage legal and political war on the imagined enablers of climate change. The money soon flowed to other areas, as money does. The flow accelerated during the pandemic and George Floyd riots in 2020.
There was an acknowledgement that time was absolutely of the essence.
Everything that we're seeing in terms of economic inequality, injustice, flaws in the system have been accentuated by the pandemic.
For the first time, perhaps ever, many donors are starting to acknowledge that equity is an important lens that they need to view their work through.
Those to benefit from this newfound interest included advocacy and activist organizations, pushing causes including social justice, Palestinian statehood, LGBTQ rights, and, as ever, climate sustainability. Mackenzie Scott, ex-wife of Jeff Bezos, has given $26 billion since 2019. But other billionaires with left-leaning proclivities include Michael Bloomberg, George Soros, Tom Steyer.
Philanthropy, if we invest through the lens of justice, we can advance that reality.
All those full-on rapists, philanthropists, sorry.
Yes. Yeah, I don't have too many comments between these. I just wanted to break them up in case you had anything and for the sake of engagement. But, yeah, part 2 to continue this presentation.
Today, about half of the electorate disapproves of the arrests and deportations of immigration and customs enforcement officers. But the anti-ICE protests in Minneapolis aren't primarily, or maybe at all, the spontaneous uprisings of an outraged citizenry.
They're breaking windows, dragging pregnant women down the street, just plain grabbing Minnesotans and shoving them into unmarked vans, kidnapping innocent people with no warning and no due process.
Governor Tim Walz, in a televised address that sounded like a narration of Kristallnacht, urged viewers to record ICE operations on their iPhones.
Take out that phone and hit record. Help us create a database of the atrocities against Minnesotans.
Ordinary people don't do that. Nor do they post ads on social media platforms targeting hotels that rent rooms to ICE agents. Activists do these things. Back in 2018, members of the Sunrise Movement, a group that organizes youth around climate issues, were arrested as they staged a sit-in at the office of then House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi. It was attended by freshman Congressman AOC.
Yes, we can mobilize small dollar donations. We can mobilize small everyday people's contributions, but we can also mobilize everyday people to action.
Today, Sunrise wants a piece of the anti-ICE action. According to a Washington Free Beacon report, Sunrise is training activists to do things like plague hotels and car rental companies that do business with ICE. One of Mr. Soros' organizations, Open Society Foundations, has given Sunrise $2 million since 2019. Meanwhile, the MacArthur Foundation gave $250,000 in 2024, and the Ford Foundation $700,000 over the past 2 years.
The No Kings protests, orchestrated by left-wing nonprofits in dozens of cities during the fall of 2025, were heavily funded by a variety of activist philanthropies.
Notes Carl Zinsmeister in his book Sweet Charity. Mr. Zinsmeister tallies 203 separate nonprofit protest sponsors.
ICE out now.
Yeah. Any thoughts on this so far? The next clip's kind of going to be a wrap.
No,
I mean it's stuff.
This is exactly what we've been saying. It's rules for radical. It's organized. It's right out of the playbook. They've wanted these deaths so they can isolate them and polarize them and bring them to national attention, and it's working. And everyone believes, the normies believe, I think a lot of people do, that this is just outraged Minnesotans and not Minnesotans, and not an organized left-wing group. And I happen to believe it is a color revolution, because I think a lot of this funding is coming from outside of the country as well to help destabilize the United States. Which in and of itself is sort of a color revolution in a more generic term, and not the specific color revolutions that happened in Eastern Europe during the early and late 90s and 2000s.
Yeah, I don't know that. I think my gripe with the term color revolution is that a color revolution is inherently offensive. And I think what's happening in Minnesota is a defensive position by the left. And the media is trying to turn it into an offensive position, the way that George Floyd riots were turned into an offensive position and spread throughout the nation, to really put pressure on state and local representatives. That hasn't happened quite yet. So currently, what's happening in Minnesota is a defensive move.
I don't know if there's a distinction between offensive and defensive. They're usually, Wikipedia is saying a color revolution is a nonviolent protest and accompanying changes of government and society taking place.
Yeah, its goal is to change the government. That there's no way that what's happening in Minnesota can change the national government.
No,
in
not
America.
on a national level. I'm talking about, well, no. It is a ground for creating a narrative in which ordinary people can get behind and vote for a new government.
That's what I'm saying. The
government.
media is trying to make it national.
Yeah.
And I think they have it digitally, but we haven't seen it go kinetic nationally the way George Floyd did.
Fair point.
That's the distinction I'm making.
I'm still going to call it a color revolution.
I don't know what I would call it, but I'll think about it, and I'll text you tonight if I think about it.
You know
let
what?
You know what I'm going to call it.
Minnesota's, they have a bunch of weird terms. I think we call it a hot dish revolution.
Hot dish?
Yeah, it's basically a casserole that you bake, but they call it a hot dish for whatever reason. Most people call it a casserole.
Why don't they just call it a casserole?
Because they're Minnesota and it's a hot dish. This is the hot dish revolution.
Okay, well, Minnesota nice, meet Minnesota ice.
Donor class.
I thought that was
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Donor class progressives no doubt believe they're helping Democrats and hurting Mr. Trump by shoveling so much money at left-wing nonprofits. But are they? Plainly, the anti-Israel protests of 2024 complicated Kamala Harris's task of finding a running mate.
What about Shapiro in Pennsylvania?
I'm not really commenting on I'm commenting on who I think would be a great choice.
Professional nuisances detract attention from things Democrats would rather talk about, like affordability and health care, and force their intended Democratic beneficiaries to instead defend lawbreakers and inflame voters with stories of fascistic thuggery.
It's a campaign of organized brutality against the people of Minnesota by our own federal government.
This is the world wealthy liberals created when they decided climate change and later systemic racism and all the other so-called existential causes required extra democratic action. It amounts to a subtler and more effective attack on democracy than anything Mr. Trump has attempted.
Okay. So what do you think, before we wrap this up, what do you think is the most likely outcome of this? Because, and I want to ask that question with this in mind. We just had, and this was the first clip we played, and we kind of glossed over it because we were so antsy to talk about this and to kind of rehash it. But Trump and Walz have talked, and they both came away saying it was productive talk. Trump said that he wanted Minnesota to hand over all criminals in their possession, and it seems like local police are now going to be keeping rioters from ICE operations, basically screening for ICE. Because if you invoke the Insurrection Act, if you're Trump and you invoke the Insurrection Act, that's what the Army would be doing. The Army wouldn't be rounding people up. The Army would be screening for the federal immigration enforcement, basically creating a barrier so that ICE can go in and do their work unimpeded. So with that latest thing, having listened to it so long ago, or revisiting it now that we've gone through all of this, how do you think this plays out?
Well, you know, I think the admin has realized after this after their initial response to it, that was bad, and they're horribly effing up. I think they did the right thing of pulling out Bavino. So if Walz does actually capitulate, I can see the left kind of turning on them all of a sudden and saying this is bad, and I can see it spinning out of the Democrats' hands. What I don't see is it spinning out of the Democrats' hands so much that the primaries in 2026 in November all of a sudden become fair game. I think the Republicans are still going to get freaking killed in November as the culture war stands at this moment. But, you know, a lot of people on the right see these kind of deportations and the fact that they're going into Minnesota as more performative than effective right now. We're not seeing large mass deportations. We're actually under the rate of Obama.
They're making them performative.
Of course, they're making them performative.
They're doing the hype edits. They're doing when in reality.
But the reason we're focused on Minnesota right now is because it is a blue state. That's an argument that the left makes, and I think it's actually accurate in this case. I think if we refocused our efforts all over the world again, all over the country again, it would be more effective.
ICE is active nationwide.
I understand. All the media coverage and eyes are on Minnesota, and we just surged a bunch of agents there, and that was right after Renee Good, and now we're going to pull back a little bit. We're going to pull back the agents. So I think it is a cooling of the temperatures. Let's bring it down. You know, Walz and Trump are talking rationally now, at least. They're having good conversations. We'll see how long that holds out. But, you know, I think it is an attempt to try to save face by the Republicans. Ultimately, I think they have been defeated by these left-wing organizations in Minnesota, more or less.
Well, where there's ice, there's salt. Don't you put salt on the roads or something like that up there where you live?
Yeah, I bought 50 pounds of it and put it on my driveway.
There you go. Why don't we thank some people? I feel like we're overdue.
Let's do it.
Millennial Media Offensive.
That's right, you're riding along on The Offensive every Tuesday night at about 5:30 p.m. John and I hop on the stream and let you know how it is, how the world's going down, what's going down, and everything that's going on from our perspective. We try to have fun. We try to make it light. Sometimes it's heavy, and we can seem like we're black-pilling, but for the most part, it's always a good time, and it's always fun. We don't run ads. We're not trying to...
We're just sensitive young men. That's
right.
all.
That's right. We're just two millennials making sense of a world that was affected. We were sold a lie. We were sold a lie about the world, and if you played by the rules, if you went to college, met a nice girl, married down, settled down, had a family, got a job, you could live a good and happy life just like our grandparents and our parents did before. And we're realizing that that's not the reality, and we're trying to understand the new reality that we're in. And that's pretty much the Millennial Media Offensive, with a heavy focus on geopolitics, the moving pieces around the world. That's what we aim to accomplish, is to help you understand, help us understand. We're really just doing a conversation here. John and I don't rehearse this at all. It's just live on the spot, what we're seeing, what we're thinking. And I literally, in my head, while I'm not talking to people, while I'm away from the things, I'm consuming information, and I'm seeing how that information fits into my grand strategic view of how the world works, and trying to translate that to you in as fun and entertaining of a way as possible. There are so many clips that I download, and I'm like, oh, this is good. And then I listen back to them, and I say, wait, this is actually incredibly boring. I forget what clip I deleted, but I was like, sure, this is interesting information, but it's incredibly boring. And I just chuck it out because it's of no utility to anyone other than I thought it was interesting at the time. And that's what we do. And we do it without bombarding you with ads. I mean,
yes.
it is a novelty.
We may bombard you with other things like pessimism, sometimes optimism. We don't give ourselves credit enough for the optimistic shows.
No. I think we are ultimately optimistic. I think every now and then we just get hit with a news week where the mainstream media is trying to convince everybody that the world's falling apart and everyone's buying it. And it's pessimism in that, why don't the other people see it, see the trick for what it is? And we don't, push an ideology. That's the fastest way to gain a following, is to push a very common ideology, Trump can do nothing wrong, or everything Trump does is bad and horrible. Please like and subscribe and buy these frickin' subscription boxes that you forget about, and you're charged $40 each month. And then it's 20 years later, and you're like, oh, I need to cancel the subscription. That's not what we do. Instead, we put out the show for free, and we say if you get any value from it, if you find yourself laughing or crying along with us, whatever value that produces, you turn it back to us. There's many ways to do that. You can go to mmo.show/donate to find out all of the ways that you can return value, but it can come in art, fiat, information, clips, whatever. Anything that you think that we would find valuable and would add value back to us is the V for V model, and that's what we push here.
That's right.
That's what we push.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing. When you're doing your initial spiel, I'm sometimes scrolling the socials to see if there's anything going on that we may have missed. It does appear as an update that state police are actually combating rioters, which is a good sign. And maybe all of our blackpilling so far in this episode was for naught. But also, I'm reading from Ted Cruz. We should be arming the protesters in Iran. Now!
What a douche. Ted Cruz. Cancun Cruz. I'm also seeing that the pizza tracker is saying abnormal high traffic at local pizzerias surrounding the Pentagon. So, and gay bar traffic is down, lower than average. So, could be something going on. Never know.
Yeah, could be. Could be.
What did I do? What did you do, Daniel? You had what you needed up, and it's now gone. Ah, yes, but thanking we always like to start off by thanking the person that supplied the art from the last episode, and this was a from the archives piece of art that we selected. We got a pretty hilarious piece from Eli the Coffee Guy that I don't want to spoil yet because it is so good, and when the time arises, we will use it because it's funny. But ultimately, it wasn't applicable to last week's episode. So instead, we reached in and pulled this old piece of artwork, which shows a library, and it shows the playbook section of a library, where effectively you can read up on the fascist playbooks, the Russian playbook, the left-wing playbooks. All the playbooks are in this section. And it was relevant because we did talk a lot about playbooks in that episode. So, and this came from Wolf. So thank you, Wolf, for that submission. If you are an artist, I don't believe Wolf is here tonight. So if you've got any sort of ideas for artwork, feel free to send it to dan@mmo.show or john@mmo.show. Operators are standing by to judge you accordingly.
We are counting on you, citizen.
Yes, we are. It would be appreciated if some art. You know, we came up with John sunning his eggs in sunlight and the hot dish revolution. Just a couple of things that are coming to mind right now. So if that sounds like something you would be into making, we would be into looking at it and maybe using it, potentially. Very well. So we got a couple of people that came in through the many ways to donate fiat, and I will go on and read those. Trashman came in through PayPal with $21.11 and says, "To hell with all this safety. I'd rather have liberty. Live free or die, baby. Stay on the offensive and live dangerously."
On the offensive.
That's right. That is right. Thank you very much, Trashman. Sam S. of Beargrass and Burblandia came in through PayPal with $20, and he mentioned that he got flagged on PayPal. They're pending the transaction because evidently it looks suspicious on PayPal's end. But he came in with $20 and says, with the pretty good psyops going on lately, you can look to MMO Show to help you keep your wits about you and save your valuable time and energy from being sucked into the reactionary fray. If you missed it, go back and listen to last show's segment on Syria. Stay on the offensive.
On the offensive.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was a good, interesting coverage of Syria and the Kurdish population. Thank you very much, Sam S. Plaid Potion came in through PayPal with his 1984 donation, $19.84, and says, "Stay OTO, boys."
On the offensive.
And in honor of this, I actually pulled a 1984 clip. And there's something ironic about this being read by an AI, and it's got a little extra kick at the end, which is funny.
War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength. George Orwell, 1984.
1984.
That's funny.
I thought that was great. So thank you very much, Plaid Potion. The Nail Lord of Gaylord comes in through Venmo with $5 and says, "Analog here. OTO."
On the offensive.
I hope you can find enough to talk about this week. Kind of a slow news week. I think he says tongue-in-cheek sarcastically. Thank you very much, the Nail Lord of Gaylord. And finally, Weirdo came in through Cash App with $3.33 and says, OTO.
On the offensive.
And that's Praetor Weirdo of the Not-So-Flatlands for all of you following along at home. And that does it for our fiat donations.
Oh, okay. Well, we have some people that came in with boosts. First on the list is DJW, formerly known as Dirty Jersey Whore, comes in with 1,976 Satoshis. The standard boost amount for DJW says, "The y'all talk made me feel a bit targeted, but I'll probably be fine after a few therapy sessions. OTO and you guys be good."
You get it?
On the offensive.
Because he always ends them with "y'all be good."
Oh,
yeah. So he says,
no, I didn't
you
get
guys be good.
I didn't even catch it. That's funny.
We weren't talking about you, DJW. We were talking about y'all sexuals.
Right. Bully Steed comes in with 1,111 Satoshis for episode number 203, Rosa Barks. I forgot that's what we titled it.
Yeah.
Rosa Barks episode. EU hates Trump so much they'll do anything to stop his election, like they did in 2020. Why were USA voting servers in Germany, aka Dominion? Bully Steed, are you trusting the plan? Nostergang comes in with 111 Satoshis with a purple heart. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bully Steed and Nostergang and DJW. You're all very appreciated. We had two streamers. Used to Read a Lot comes in with 2,600 Satoshis streamed for episode number 203. Eric PP streamed 3,386 Satoshis. And we thank you all, no matter what form or fashion your support took. We hope that you will...
Got another boost that came in from Bully Steed of 1,111 Satoshis, a row of sticks. And she says, Tuesday is news day.
Tuesday is news day.
Remain on the offensive, #OTO.
On the offensive.
There you go.
You know, it's incredible that we do, but we will. And we have remained on the offensive. And we will continue to remain on the offensive, even on the days where it feels like nothing goes right. I've just seen pictures of the ICE officers in their hotel mooning protesters as the Minnesota State Police create a barricade, and I think we're going to be okay.
That's great. Is that real?
Yeah, that's real.
Man, ICE mooning protesters.
You've heard of the blood moon.
We're winning
now,
the culture war again.
Behold the ICE moon.
Just show your ass. Don't kill anyone.
Yeah. Drinking beers and mooning protesters from the hotel.
I put several markers down.
Good. Well, I think that does it for thanking people. Thank you again, everyone. We always look forward to seeing how much support we really have out there. We see a lot of names come in week after week after week, and you all have no idea how much we appreciate it. But for those of you who've never sent a donation, you hear this all the time. Even $1 makes a difference. It's not a joke. I mean, one extra $1 every week really makes a difference. And if you don't want to do that, send a quarterly donation. That's when we take our respective payouts is quarterly. So even if you save up $1 per show and make a significant boost or significant donation once a quarter, just so you can get a little more attention to your donation, that's great. But anything is better than nothing, and we won't do this for nothing. So thank you to everybody who has come in. We look forward to seeing who else comes in the future, and we will look forward to staying on the offensive with you.
Please clap.
Get it on.
Oh, and just like that, 5,000 Satoshis coming through Fountain from NetNed, Sir NetNed, and he says, Ice Moon boosting. Thank you, sir.
Yes, the Ice Moon.
Oh, I like this. Bully Steed's got the parentheses, star parentheses for the ice the protesters.
Yes.
Nice little butt cheeks emoji. Thank you very much.
That's good.
The cultural war tides have shifted once again. ICE is in control.
Your liege, or my liege, the tides are shifting. One of our valiant soldiers has shown his buttocks to the enemy.
Look, it was all doom and gloom an hour ago, and now it is butts on glass at angry protesters. You can't beat that. That is funny. I'm going to put that on my Instagram story and lose some followers.
Well, you lose some followers, but you can reciprocate the unfollow and probably save yourself a little bit of annoyance in the future.
That's true. That is true. Although I do like to, it's my pulse on the normies. I like to keep a good collection of people.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
I understand. I'm actually pretty light for the second half.
Same.
I have a. This is sort of related to the first half, but we've been all over the place, so I don't really mind. I have the New York Times, paragon of journalism that it is, went to an ICE job fair, and they were appalled that they had a clear pane of glass just sitting in the auditorium. They couldn't figure out what it was for. But they went to this ICE job fair. You didn't get that, did you?
A clear pane of glass? Oh,
yeah.
For mooning?
Yes. So yes, New York Times went to this job fair, and I've got a clip called ICE Job Fair. And of course, there were protesters at this job fair, and that will be the second clip. But first, it's just ICE Job Fair, New York Times.
We are at a recruitment fair for ICE. I want to talk to folks and see who wants to be a deportation officer and why.
I'm a college student, recently graduated.
Former flight attendant.
I did 8 years in the Marine Corps. Doors haven't even opened yet, and already there's a line of more than 100 people waiting to get in. ICE saw this event advertised on ICE's social media account. The benefits they're offering are pretty extensive. There's an up to $50,000 signing bonus, $60,000 in student debt reduction, up to 25% overtime rate. The Trump administration is adding tens of billions of dollars to the budget and is trying to make immigration enforcement really the center of law enforcement in this country right now. This is the Esports Stadium in Arlington, Texas. It's usually a space for gamers. Today, ICE is hiring for a variety of different positions. The lines have been the longest for deportation officers. That has the lowest bar to entry. College degree is not necessarily required, and ICE is trying to hire 10,000 deportation officers. The signage behind me says, "Defend the Homeland." What were the attractions of working for ICE?
I'm very patriotic.
Guarding America, guarding the homeland.
When I saw Uncle Sam pointing that finger, just had it in my heart. And you're thinking, look at this guy. He's an immigrant.
When I fell for
he wants
World
to
War
become
II
a deportation
propaganda.
officer. Doesn't make any sense to you. Makes 100% sense to me.
We're seeing a bit of the speed and scale that the Trump administration is trying to move at. They're moving people in and out assembly line style. They're offering drug testing on site, and they're even saying that you could walk out of here with a tentative offer letter to start a new job at ICE.
I was able to get an offer today. I accepted, and then I went and did all my process, my fingerprinting and my drug testing. Background check is next, and then of course training.
What kind of drugs are we testing? That's fun. It's exciting.
Yeah. I still can't. And it's interesting because you listen to the people that are being interviewed that are applying for these jobs, and you look at them in the video, there'll be a link in the show notes. They're young. They're not the geriatric protesters that are out holding up signs protesting about Trump bad. These are young people. And I think if this does work out, and we've been blackpilling for no reason just because we're spoiled brats.
You and me?
Yeah.
Spoiled.
We want everything to go our way all the time, that kind of thing.
That's because we're superior.
That's not how I would do it, What is Kristi Noem doing?
Kristi Noem is an idiot, and no one's going to change my mind.
She is an idiot. But if this works out, this could be a blueprint that you see, especially with the soccer hooligan culture in Europe. You could see massive amounts of young people take on deportation jobs in Europe if they have the right people get into leadership. And you think about the guys in the hotel room that I just saw mooning protesters and drinking beers. That's a perfect fit for the soccer hooligans.
Sounds like a fun little Tuesday night to me.
It does to me too. I mean, a $50,000 signing bonus and Mooners Club. Where do I sign up?
I think it's $10,000 signing bonus and $50,000 annually.
No, they said up to 50 signing.
That's insane. What? How do you determine that?
It's probably different positions, like your government pay scales. They're all set.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That's insane.
So they could be hiring data analysts that maybe would qualify for the $50,000 signing bonus, but you're also going to be getting like a $120 annual salary.
Man.
And I'm talking like, PhD level data analyst kind of stuff. But I mean, it's government cheese, baby. It's always been tempting.
I guess
and now
I don't want to be a
fed.
That's fine.
Instead of the government cheese being for sitting on your entire couch at once and having as many children as you can, it's for going out rounding up those illegal immigrants
and shooting Americans.
Yes, we don't kill the illegal immigrants. We just send them elsewhere. Americans,
kill them.
Yeah. So anyway, of course there are protesters there, and now we're going to hear a little bit about the protesters at the ICE job fair.
There's a lot of criticism of ICE and its tactics in enforcing immigration law. You can hear the protesters behind me shouting at applicants as they walk in, calling them Nazis and fascists, and even identifying them by name. They're looking up people's license plate numbers. So are you worried about being called a Nazi?
I don't mind risking my freedom to safeguard yours.
ICE has become kind of a really polarizing agency.
Is this a father and son? You can't hide together.
It reflects the big divides within America. It's a flashpoint for how people feel about Trump's mass deportation agenda.
This is why I get so frustrated when your boomer normie and Gen X normie and even millennial normie voters get soft on these things that are changing like the tides of the sea. The energy, the youthful energy is on the side of ICE here. These protesters are old and lame, as we've noted many, many times.
The Antifa are pretty much all older millennial. 30 to 40.
Yes. And the vigor is on the right side of politics. It still is, even though we wonder about the culture war and if it's shifted and, you know, have people really, have they had enough of the optics? That doesn't change where the youthful vigor wants to be and where they're focused. And you can't turn your back on that. You've got to ride that wave of momentum. And I hope that Trump sees that. And I hope he knows that that youthful energy in society is with him in this mission. Because that's, if you've got that, if you have the energy of the youth in your country, you really don't need much else to do what you want to do if you have the stones to do it.
Well, you need 51% of the electorate.
No, you don't.
If you want to keep the good times rolling, you do.
No, you don't. You really don't. If you're playing by the rules, yeah, okay, we need to worry about these elections. But the reality is that we've put those rules on ourselves. So you actually don't need 51% of the electorate. If you see yourself as a man out of time the way Trump could see himself, he doesn't need the electorate. He can accomplish everything he needs to do before any elections matter.
Well, I appreciate your optimism.
He could. That's why I get so frustrated and I go back and forth on this so much, because I see the possibility. I see what could be done. And it sometimes it just feels like it's not going to happen. And then I'm reminded that there's this energy behind him. And it's reinvigorating. I mean, even just talking about it, even thinking about this energy that's behind him and behind this movement, it's reinvigorating, and that's the nature of that type of energy.
Weren't you the guy earlier that was talking about what if we kill him? What if he dies?
I didn't say what if we kill him. Yeah, he could die. He could die. I mean, that's the real thing. And then the question at that point becomes, does anyone step in and embody what he was representing? And to our point earlier, I don't know that there's anybody. Rubio is the closest thing. And Trump just recently said Rubio is going to go down as the best Secretary of State we've ever had. So a little bit of an endorsement there from Trump. So, you know, I just like to talk about these things. I mean, what do you want from me?
Just saying, man. It's a fun roller coaster because I'm on it too. I absolutely get it. I'm like, oh, everything's gonna be fine. There's a plan that's working out. There's ways that it can work out, and it's like, oh shit. Even like people that were sort of normal are now posting Nazi memes, you know. So I'm with you. It's a chaotic ride right now.
Well, what you have to realize is that all of the time, ever, the common opinions are trash. They have no idea. They don't know what they're just basically, most people don't put enough energy into thinking about these things and pondering these things. Like you just talked about how all week, all you've done is think about a certain geopolitical set piece and situation. No one does that. The people that do that either do some project like we've done here, or they're in that world in some way, shape, or form professionally. Most people don't do that. And, you know, our listeners are some of the few that do that and enjoy that kind of discussion and that kind of, it's really thought experiments of what could happen, what might be happening. And, you know, that's why I always say, you know, the more people that we can find that appreciate this kind of thing, the more accurate we can make these thought experiments, and the more engaging we can make this, because we get more input from more people that help us refine these and see the reality for what it is, and then, you know, predict it, because, you know, it's all about the jingle.
Yeah, I always find it odd when we hit like a weird career, and then we get an email from somebody in that career, and it's like, holy shit. So yeah, tell people about it. Hey, someone sign up for ICE, and tell all your ICE buddies about it.
But back to my point.
I'm looking at you, Eric PP. Join ICE.
we have to institute the Fed Pass.
That's right.
Which we should have instituted for. Is it Hannah is it Hannah that's the Fed, that not a Fed?
No, Emily.
It's the other Emily.
Emily the Fed.
Not Catholic Emily.
No, there's Catholic Emily, then there's Fed, not a Fed Emily. There's two Emilys.
I got you.
We have a lot of women. We have a lot of women listeners.
Pass. Yeah, because we say things like, you don't actually have to have 51% of the electorate. You wouldn't hear that anywhere else. Well, you want to uphold our democracy and keep everything as a rule-based order, and we've got to stay in line with what has been and what used to be and what still has to be. We can't explore the options that we have here to make the world what we want it to be. Why would we do that? You know, we're open to thinking about things like this. Even though it may not be what we believe, we can still think about them. And I think that's attractive. Not from female to male attractive or male to female attractive. I think it's attractive intellectually.
Hey, ladies.
Look at the big brain on Dan.
I put twins in my last wife.
Oh, you are in trouble now.
No. Elise knows I am too lazy to find another wife. No, I love her. She's my best friend.
Oh, now he's friend zoning you, Elise.
That's right.
No. But anyway, I don't mean to harp on this. It would just be a tragedy if you have this kind of primal energy behind a movement that you are the head of, and it just goes to waste. That would be an American tragedy that would usher in the end of the American empire.
I am America. You are America. We are all America.
We all moon the protesters here.
That's right. This whole thing is about mooning leftists. That's the whole show.
It's 44D chess to moon leftists.
Yeah, 3 hours every week for 4 years. We've just been two cheeks to the wind.
4. I've got 2.
Oh, that's right. 4 cheeks to the wind.
Dan's just watching. Okay, well, let's go to Australia and maybe meet some people who only have one cheek left, because there's been some shark attacks.
Hold on, we got to introduce it.
Let's put another shrimp on the barbie. Time for some news down under.
Shark attacks.
Confirmed shark attack. We need to out of the water now.
Dramatic moments at a popular beach. A shark attacking a surfer off the coast of Australia. Beachgoers rushing to rescue the injured man.
It really didn't look good at all.
Video from surf cameras obtained by 7 News Australia shows what appears to be the moment the shark attacked. You can see it appear to thrash in the water. Nearby surfers got the injured man on a board, racing him to shore.
Blood everywhere, and they brought him all the way into the beach, so those guys are the real heroes.
A chopper eventually landing on the beach to transport the victim.
We decided to grab a leg rope and run down there for a tourniquet. It wasn't a good scene. You know, we're talking to him and we're all just trying to keep him awake and keep him alive, just do what we could for him.
The harrowing attack, one of 4 in Australia in the last 48 hours. Dozens of beaches across Australia's largest city, Sydney, are closed. The unprecedented phenomenon prompting officials to take immediate action and issue a stark warning.
At this stage, we're advising that the beaches are unsafe.
The first attack, according to local officials, was this past Sunday when a 12-year-old was bitten by a shark in Sydney.
He's in for the fight of his life now. It was a horrendous scene at the time when police attended.
The next day, 2 more attacks, including a 10-year-old boy, unharmed but knocked off his surfboard, according to officials. The 4th incident left this surfer with a minor chest wound and bite to his board.
Sitting on my board, taking in the view, and yeah, got hit from the side. Saw the body of the shark and then a little bit of a thrash. Both my arms were working and all I thought was just get to shore.
Professional surfer Matt Huoynaski has surfed these waters all his life.
I've surfed since I was a child and done maybe 20,000 hours surfing in and around the Sydney area and rarely seen sharks at all.
Conditions in the region favorable for the predators, leaving surfers on edge.
Probably not going to be surfing for a while. I don't think anybody will.
In terms of scary things happening, after being like buried alive in a small tight box, I'm like super claustrophobic. Being in the open water with a shark, like a bull shark, is definitely in my top 5 fears.
Yeah, that's probably my number 1. And it's not just sharks either. Growing up around rivers and creeks, I've never been shy about the water, but it's always in the back of my mind about alligators. And, alligators rarely will attack you from the bottom the way a shark will. But it's just something about not knowing what's below you that really tickles my primal fear. And I'm always able to overcome it. But even as a kid, some of my earliest dreams that I remember are of, ponds full of sharks. Or not sharks. Ponds full of alligators. And I don't know for what reason, is that some, I don't know, I'm not going to psychoanalyze myself on the air. But
I've recently had a dream where I went out on some rocks and I was probably like 100 feet out from where the normal shore is, and a bunch of alligators came in, and then Ralph was like coming after me, and I was so worried that the alligators were going to eat Ralph.
Oh, you're selfless now that you've had kids.
Well, I was just like, I can stand on this rock forever, but is Ralph going to try and come out and save me and inadvertently get killed?
Oh, you were on a rock the whole time.
Yeah,
You were standing on the rock of your principles.
I turned back, and the alligators were separating me from shore and my beloved German Shepherd.
Wow.
And I think the alligators were liberal protesters. The rock was my butt, and
Yes.
Ralph was America.
Was it shining in the moon?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
Okay, yes. Yes, if you want to hear, I really get disappointed in X because I don't post enough to really have a good following, but I always want to ask questions and see what people have to think, and inadvertently, inevitably, I ask questions and don't get any responses. But I've discovered recently that every other night or so, or every third night, I can eat a banana and salt it with like a sea salt, which is really good. It comes from a dessert that I used to eat, which was a piece of bread, piece of sourdough bread with buttered bread with banana slices on the bread, cinnamon and salt. Delicious. But I've taken it down a couple of notches to just eating like a salted banana. And I'm trying to get a little more salt in my diet. And the fruit, there's nothing wrong with fruit. You should eat more fruit. That's some good carbohydrates, back to our conversation earlier. But I can eat one of these salted bananas every other or every third night, and my dreams are incredibly vivid on those nights.
When you salt your banana?
Yeah. And it has to be the salt, because that's the only thing. I've eaten fruit before bed in the past and haven't noticed any difference. And I'm prone to notice these things. And the last 3 times I've had a salted banana over the couple of weeks or so, the dreams have just been crazy vivid. Long, drawn-out dreams, very linear. This is what's happening. This is my role in it. This is exactly the people involved. It's kind of wild. So I'm really interested in the biological effects of salt on dreaming.
We should sometime do a separate podcast. We don't have to do it continuously, where we just talk about random shit like this, because I am fascinated about dreams. I had my first lucid dream probably about a month ago. I've been remembering my dreams more, because they say you remember your dreams closer to your waking state.
Mm-hmm.
And because I've been getting up more with the kids at night with feedings, I've been remembering these dreams and often pondering, while I'm half asleep holding a bottle in a baby's mouth, pondering what that dream meant.
What was my mind doing?
Exactly. Why was it so important that I refinanced my home and then went and punched my 8th grade teacher?
I mean, I would like to talk about that even offline sometime, just kind of casually. Maybe if we do a millennial media offensive meetup somewhere in the future, maybe this summer somewhere, where we can plan it ahead and get some people to come and just hang out. We could have that discussion, because that's the kind of thing that you really should talk about with people that you, not that you trust, but that you're trying to have a good conversation with. It shouldn't really all be about politics or the fleeting things. It should more be about things that matter, and those kinds of deeper conversations. That's what I enjoy anyway, which is why I'm pretty bad at small talk. But yeah, I like those kind of conversations too. So I'm game for that anytime.
Well, if you're ever at a massage parlor, Ned says you should ask for a salted banana. Apparently, it's a special they do.
Yeah, sure. Have some really nice dreams after that.
Oh yeah. No comments.
Yeah, so I've got a second part to this shark attack clip, which is where we were 5 minutes ago. And this is just the why of why the sharks may be more aggressive right now than they have been in the past.
George Solis joins us now from Miami. And George, what else can you tell us about the conditions at these beaches that made them ideal for sharks?
Yeah, Kate, so you already have bull sharks that are normally getting close to the coast this time of year, but you've also had a lot of rainwater, which has basically hit some farms, creating some runoff. So the water's been really murky, which has brought smaller fish. That attracts bigger fish, and of course now the sharks are looking for them. So they're just in the perfect environment for a lot of swimmers and surfers to interact with them, Kate.
Yeah, and I guess people know it's summertime in Australia right now. I understand sharks aren't the only Australian predators that are causing concern this week?
Yeah, that's right, Kate. In a bizarre twist, investigators there are also looking into a case of dingoes that may be responsible for the death of one 19-year-old Canadian woman. Now, it's too early to know whether she drowned, but all they really know at this point is that she's 19. She was found near a popular area there in Australia as well, and they did, at least investigators did note that it appeared that she did have bites from some of these dingoes there. They should have some results as early as tomorrow. Kate?
All right, George Solis for us. George, thanks.
Ooh. You know, we haven't heard from the millennial bookkeeper in some time. I hope she's not the dingo victim.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good. I mean, it's not good anyway, but it really wouldn't be good if we knew who it was.
Yeah, hell, you go to Australia, you get chased into the water by dingoes, and you get eaten by sharks.
Yeah, it's a lose-lose.
It's a wild land, Australia. How do you feel about spiders? Big ones?
Spiders don't bother me that much.
What about snakes?
Snakes don't bother me either. I actually had a snake friend here on the farm for a little while last summer. It was a very large, probably 6 foot long chicken snake that would hang out on the wheelbarrow because it got really hot. So it would just hang out in the wheelbarrow. And I tried to grab him by his tail a couple times, and he would scoot out and go under something. I never could quite get him. But, yeah, snakes don't bother me. I'm always hyper aware in the woods of rattlesnakes just because of how dangerous they are and how far away you usually are from a car when you encounter a rattlesnake. But, you know, I'm not going to play with a rattlesnake, but I wouldn't be scared out of my wits if I heard a rattle. I would just be looking for the next logical move based on where I am and where the rattlesnake is in relation to me.
Yeah, I treat snakes like mushrooms. Unless I am positively sure what it is, I kind of stay away.
Yeah, and growing up down here, I've got a pretty good idea of what snakes are and what they aren't. So, like a chicken snake's really easy to tell that it's a chicken snake. So I'll kind of fool around with chicken snake. But even when I was young, I got
Fooling around with a chicken snake. A memoir by John G.
I vividly remember being freaking out my grandmother one day because I let a little green snake bite me between my thumb and my pointing finger, and it was just holding on. And I went and knocked on her door and just had it at the door, like hanging onto my hand at the door when she opened it. Just a little terror, really, is what I was. But yeah, snakes have never really bothered me. Spiders either. Like if I see a spider and then I don't see a spider, I'll kind of get the creeps and move around and try to find it and get it out of the house if it's in the house, or just kind of go about my business if it's somewhere else. But they don't bother me.
Very good. The more you know. What else you got tonight?
My last clip is a clip. It's in the police folder, and it's about, CBS San Diego, anyway, is really leaning into the clickbait.
Sure.
They titled this piece, quote, San Diego police introduce Phoebe, the canine who sniffs out child predators.
Okay. I will play it, and I'm very curious as to how that works.
I was too.
Phoebe, she's not your average police dog. This 2.5-year-old is San Diego PD's newest electronic detection canine. Her job, sniffing out hidden cell phones, SD cards, or hard drives used to store illegal images. As cute as she is, she has an important role. Her nose is key to helping put child predators away.
Seek.
As 2.5-year-old English black lab Phoebe's on the hunt for electronics.
Show me. Yes, good girl.
She found a memory chip hidden under a table leg and a cell phone nearby. Phoebe can search underwater in a device buried 6 inches deep as well as high up, sniffing out an SD card tucked high up on a blind.
Her sniffing gets a little bit more fast. Sometimes she'll make like a grunting sound.
San Diego Police is introducing us for the first time to their electronics detection canine. She joined the force last March to assist the Internet Crimes Against Children unit. She's trained to detect TPPO, that's a chemical in electronics, even when devices are hidden in walls or cars.
She went right in, found the laptop under the bed, found some things in a drawer, and then she hid out a window. And I was thinking, there's nothing, what are you looking at? And she sat, and I asked her to show me, and she jumped up, and I took a step back and looked up. And of course, there was a hidden camera above the windowsill that I don't think any of us would have caught. But
Phoebe was trained in Indiana and donated by the San Diego Police Foundation.
We've been tasked for her nose. We've been used for child abuse and a homicide case, looking for a cell phone.
But Phoebe also provides comfort, calming scared children during search warrants and giving detectives a moment of relief from the darkest cases.
We're in this business because we want to protect kids. We are also exposed daily to all of these videos and images and the cases and hearing what it has done to these families. And so she's very special in this office. Detectives will get up from their desk just to take a break, and she's right there.
She has a nose for justice and a heart for healing.
We have some fantastic detectives, and it's just great to have our little fur detective to help. Good girl.
In Kearney Mesa, Abby Black, CBS 8.
That's a feel-gooder, yeah. I think there's porn in here.
Is that an SD card?
Yeah, so that makes a lot more sense. The dog can't detect porn on an SD card, but it can detect an SD card based on the chemical in it, apparently.
Yes.
Okay.
At a suspect's home that is suspected of having such material.
Right. The dog would go nuts in this office because everything's electronic. There's not any child porn on it, but there is a lot of electronics in here.
Your Honor, the dog went nuts in this man's basement. The pedo dog went nuts.
Man, that would be really awkward if, like, the handler of the dog brings the dog home, and then the dog's just constantly, like, going around the house being like, the young child's playing with a porn device in the basement. I no longer like you. It's just a kid playing his Xbox, and the dog's going nuts. That's porn. Yeah. All right, so that's great. My last clip, are you familiar with reaction videos or the concept of them?
Yes, I am, yeah.
So there used to be a trend where they would play like these people manufacturing or like these people doing these crazy ways of like highly effective, productive methods of manufacturing in China. And it would be like these people reacting to it. And those were fine for a while. And then people would just take their like reactions to one video and then just pop it over a bunch of different videos. They weren't even reacting to the clips anymore. It was just like this guy in the corner of the screen going, wow, that's crazy. Dude, that's nuts. So they weren't even actually reacting to videos anymore. Now they've gone a step further and they've have these videos and they just have an AI reacting to the video. And so I had pulled about a minute of this AI. So imagine in the corner of the screen an AI woman, and she is reacting to a bunch of videos that are going one after the other. And this is from Snapchat. And this is kind of like, I guess, the most advanced version of brain rot I've ever seen. So this is an AI reacting to videos in real time as you're watching the video and watching her react to them.
From the bed. This turned out to be cream. Wow! What is it feeling inside? Maybe it's cream or bread. Oh, this is some unique style helicopter. Brother, look at how its wings are spinning. Oh, wow! Look at how they are peeling the apple. Wow! Oh, brother's wig fell off. Oh, it fell into the girl's bag. Brother didn't even notice. Brother, what is he doing in the waterfall? Oh, the glass just broke. The girl ran away in fear, showing the airplane's tire landing. Now let's see what the airplane does. Oh, what is his train doing? Oh, the train will crash. Wait. Oh, stop. Stop. They're peeling a coconut. Coconut? Oh, brother. Are they putting coins in? Some new yummy toy. It's a toy, brother. Look at the girl's hair. How long they are. Such long, dense hair. It must take her the whole day to fix it. Why is she opening love? Oh, brother, what is he doing? Where did he get such big slippers? Oh, what is this? Is this a prank? Where did he get such big slippers?
What is the purpose of this?
I don't know. It's on Snapchat. It's a AI woman reacting to these rapid, quick videos and seeing what's going on. And it's, I think it's more funny than anything, but apparently this is content now.
Do not eat the oats, brother.
Oh, brother, his wig fell into a bag, and brother didn't even notice. I showed Elisa. She's like, why does she keep saying brother? I'm like, I have no idea.
Are you familiar with the pig meme of may I have some oats, brother? It's
I don't believe so.
Excuse me. One pig eating oats, and another one says, brother, may I have some oats? And then the pig eating them explains how you cannot have some oats, brother, because the farmer wants you to have some oats. And it just keeps using brother over and over and over again, explaining why the other pig can't have oats because the farmer wants him to eat the oats so that he can slaughter him and eat him. But he's the whole time eating oats.
Yeah, don't remember. I've never seen that one.
It's pretty good. It's obscure, but it's what it made me think of was saying brother over and over and over again.
Oh, brother, where art thou? Thou art on the offensive.
Oh, brother, what art thou this clip?
I don't know. It's one of those things that in my thinking of geopolitics and then going on there, I see that. I'm like, what the hell is this? People need to hear this. I can't be the only one that sees this absolute slop. Yes, sir. Another MMO is in the can. He didn't even join the chat. Another episode of John G. Do not in the chat.
I join sometimes.
It's a novelty. It's a novelty when you join. I figured that tonight would be a big turnout just because of everything the things that are happening in Minnesota. It's one of those events where you want to talk to people about it. Like, what do you think about this? I've seen a lot of people speculating about the gun and the happenings, and it's a weird topic. Oh, brother. What's he doing with that gun? Wow, is he armed? Wow, is he attacking ICE officers? Wow, are they shooting him? Oh, brother, he's dead.
Brother, can we say he brandished that weapon?
Brother, I think that was justified. Brother, no one comes to protests with a gun.
Brother, is that the moon?
Can you get in trouble for that? Mooning people?
Technically, yes. It's indecent exposure.
Well, indecently exposing myself on the internet since 2021. I've been Dan Gehring in St. Louis, Missouri.
And from America's South Coast, where I can't believe it's been that long, I'm John G. Do.
That's what she said. And what I say is we will see you next Tuesday. Until then, make sure you carry 2 mags fully loaded. Because why do minimal damage when you can do maximal damage? MMO, out. Hell yeah, brother.
All right, let's produce this thing. I got a wife and child on the way.
I thought you already had them.
No, they're being shipped from Ukraine.
Oh, brother. Ukrainian women are great. Okay, lots of titles here. University of Kentucky. 4 feet of Hawaiian rolls. Forgot about that word. Ice on our bush. Boinked. Thirsty for blood. Fully loaded magazines. Impolite society. Climax. Swap the top. The secular state of Mississippi. Nuts and bolts guy. Very good. Robotic dingbat. Suskinked. Proof of weapons. Schemes afoot. Alabama Stan. First Gulf War with an O. Happy average. Go lick boots somewhere else. 1,984. Ice Moon. Butts on Glass. Spoiled Brats. Moon's Club. Americans. Kill 'em. What if we kill 'em? Fed Pass. We Are America. 4 Cheeks to the Wind. Ponds full of sharks. Salt your banana. Fooling around with a chicken snake. Where did he get such big slippers? Apparently this is content now, and thou art on the offensive.
Hmm.
4 feet of Hawaiian rolls just tickles me.
It's a little long.
That's exactly the point. That's why it's a good title.
I kind of like Nuts and Bolts guy.
A nuts and bolts guy or nuts and bolts guy?
Nuts and Bolts guy.
Can we do in the middle? Nuts and bolts?
No, let's do another one.
That was it? That was a deal breaker? Changing and to no, I don't like it. We can do 4 Cheeks to the Wind or Nuts and Bolts guy.
I think the moon is going to be the art.
Okay. Wolf wasn't here tonight, so I don't think we can rely on art coming in from him. Actually, I haven't. My email's been closed, so I don't know if we've gotten anything.
Well, you should check because we have.
Oh, brother, my email was closed. Oh, wow, I got some emails. Oh, brother, these are ads. Come on in. Oh, hell yeah. Chuck him long. He just wasn't in the room, apparently. Nice eggs in the sun. That's funny. What is this third one? Is it the silver index?
That's just his positions, I think.
Damn, son. Donate some money. Thanks for the art. Now send us some money. Oh, too good.
I think the moon clearly wins the art.
By far. I'm going to drop that in the chat room so people can see it. Okay. Moon art wins. Ice Moon. I love it. So let's do, Nuts and Bolts guy. I'll do it. And I'll even use the word and.
Okay, good.
Unless 4 feet of Hawaiian rolls. Oh, God. The random shit that we talk about. Okay. Here we go. That's me starting the show. I think this is a crispy time.
For domestic satisfaction. I don't think Japan. Oh,
sorry. Hey, but they're not going to play fair. Just mark the crispy for now.
Inflation like we. I don't think.
Perfect. All right, crispy has been marked. Now for some dropping things.
Retaking the reins.
It was Canada.
Hey, Canada, catch. Put a marker down because I don't think we have anything else any better than that. But
okay, there's that, and there is
the blood moon.
We're winning
now,
the culture war again.
Behold the ice moon.
Just show your ass. Don't kill anyone.
Yeah. Yep. Drinking beers and mooning protesters from the hotel. Them elsewhere. Americans,
kill them.
Kill the illegal immigrants. We just send them elsewhere. Yes, we don't kill the illegal immigrants. We just send them elsewhere. Americans, kill them.
Kill them. Kill them. God, I hate hearing my laugh back. Ugh. Just show your ass. Don't kill anyone.
Put a marker down. Hey, Canada, catch.
What are you thinking?
I don't know if I like having something as brash as Americans kill them, even though it's probably the best opening.
Why?
I think it's okay. Yes, we don't kill the illegal immigrants. We just send them elsewhere.
Show art late. You guys be good. He's still doing it. Let's see what he's got. A spider on a salted banana. I'll be damned if that isn't topical.
We could do Ice Moon as a title and use that art.
I don't know. I feel like we could use this in the future.
It's got episode 204 on it.
I'm kidding, John. When are we ever going to use a freaking tarantula on a salted banana again in the future? Oh, man.
I kind of like the idea of using his art with Ice Moon as the title.
I don't like this art. I don't like spiders.
Oh, okay. Well, you've got your veto.
Well, hold on. It really does beg the question: what the hell could this show possibly be about?
It really
right? Like, and it's pretty well buried in there. So,
yeah.
All right, Ice Moon is the title. Wolf gets the victory ripped from under his feet. Eric Pepe likes the Ice Moon. Should we leave it up to a vote?
No.
The fonts are way better on Wolf's piece. I love you, Dirty Jersey Horror. Or DJW, sorry. The Dirty Jersey.
Dead naming him.
That's right. But the fonts are outstanding on Wolf's piece. All right, we'll use the Wolf Moon Spider, and when Wolf just quits due to frustration, I am going to leave you in charge of Art.
Oh, God. Well, I'm going to have to leave it up to you because I got to go get a sleeping baby out of the car.
Okay. We'll use that. Ice Moon is the title, and Killing Americans is the opening.
Okay.
Perfect. It is a plan.
Yes, we don't kill the illegal immigrants. Yes, we don't kill the I don't think you use all of that. We just send them elsewhere. Americans, kill them. Americans, kill them. Americans, kill them.
That?
Yeah, I think so.
Perfect.
Punchy.
Punchy, to the point.
All right.
Death.
I hate to leave like this, but I got to run.
You're good.
All right. Good show.
Agreed.
See you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday, my friend.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Alrighty.